All right. It having reached the hour of 5:31 p.m., I am calling the August 9th, 2022 Modesto City Council meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Ricky.
Present.
Councilmember Canoyer.
Present.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Here.
Councilmember Madrigal. Cannot see him. And Mayor Zwallen.
Here. Will everyone please stand for the pledge to the flag, followed by the invocation from Michael Brinton from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh,
Our eternal Father in heaven, we're so thankful this time, Father, for the many blessings we enjoy, for the opportunity to have to live in this great city and this great country. Father, we ask this time that thou will bless the members of the City Council with thy inspiration, that they might make decisions that will provide for the security and stability of the citizens here. We pray for the leaders of our country that they might sue for peace, that we might have a more prosperous nation. We dedicate ourselves to thee, and we do this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Please remember public comment period is limited to 3 minutes. There are blue speaker request cards located in the lobby of our council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, will the city attorney please report out on closed session?
Yes, Mayor. The council met in closed session today to discuss items related to property negotiations and also existing litigation. No reportable action was taken.
All right.
Tony is here.
Thank you and welcome, Councilmember Madrigal. Next is acknowledgements and presentations. The first is our Stanislaus County update by Supervisor Manny Graywall. Welcome, Manny.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager Lopez, entire council, City Attorney Sanchez. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to all of you today about things happening in the county. First and foremost, our office has been receiving a lot of calls about the monkeypox pandemic going around. And so just want to let you know that we do have vaccines available at a limited supply. I know the Public Health Department is trying to get more. Also with COVID-19, rates are still high. Obviously, vaccines are available, booster shots are available. Just encourage everybody to be vigilant, especially with schools opening back up. A couple of major investments the county's making in the county and here in the cities is last year with our ARPA funds, we utilized $5 million for Stanislaus Equity Partners. Had a great update from them this morning at the board meeting on projects that they are working on, projects that include pathways to home ownership, Project Home Key, backyard home projects. I know it was in the paper about micro housing in Riverbank, but we're also looking to do that in Modesto as well. Micro business developments and then micro business and COVID-19 grants. The second investment we made with our ARPA funds was $50 million towards infrastructure. And after a very involved process where we went in each district for each supervisor looking at where the most need was on display, we also had surveys done by Open Mic that were also giving us, or by Debrief, sorry, I always get the surveying company sometimes, but Debrief helped us on those. And next week, we will have a presentation on where the most amount of input through surveys came. And some of those projects happen to be in Modesto. So I encourage all of you to tune in. I think it's going to be a good amount of investment here in the city of Modesto of areas that are unincorporated. So that'll be coming out next week. And as always, I always appreciate the opportunity to meet with the mayor, many of the council members, to discuss issues that together we can make Modesto an even better place to live. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, thank you for that report. Appreciate it. Next is a presentation of proclamation recognizing a Syrian Martyrs Remembrance Day. And I will read the proclamation. The Ottoman Empire committed the crime of genocide against the Assyrian people, killing at least 300,000 innocent Assyrians by way of mass executions, death marches, torture, and starvation during the First World War. In August 1933, approximately 3,000 Assyrians were brutally murdered in Sameli in the Duhok and Mosul districts of modern-day Iraq by the nation Iraqi army and irregular Kurdish and Arab forces. August 7th is globally observed by the Assyrian community as Assyrian Memorial Day in remembrance of all massacres and genocides committed against the Syrian people and of the persecution this community has faced as a result of their distinct ethnic and religious identity. The International Association of Genocide Scholars has found that the genocide against the Assyrian population was part of a larger campaign against Christian minorities, including Armenians and Pontian and Anatolian Greeks. The resilience and endurance of the Assyrian people is commendable and praiseworthy. Despite being victims of an ethnocide that is being continued by the Islamic State, the Assyrian community across the world continues to feel the effects of the Assyrian genocide, including families that have never been reunited. Now, therefore, the Modesto City Council does hereby recognize the Syrian Martyrs Remembrance Day and resolve to encourage education and public understanding of the facts of the Assyrian genocide and the relevance of the Assyrian genocide to a modern-day crimes against humanity, dated this 9th day of August, 2022. We have Carmen Morad from CSU Stanislaus Sargas Assyrian Heritage Project here that has a few remarks to make.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, city attorney, city manager, and staff. It is truly humbling to be presented with this proclamation again. Madam Mayor, last year we were here. You also, through the years, the city of Modesto has presented this proclamation that makes the Assyrian community feel valued and welcome. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Councilwoman Jenny Canoyer and Councilman Tony Madrigal. Through the years, they always attended every event that I invited them to, and there are many. And it's only fitting that I have this opportunity before they are gone. And I also would like to take this opportunity to look forward to future events with our council members. Also, thank you to Councilwoman Rosa Escueta-Brayton. She attended the event that we had this last Sunday. I would like to dedicate this proclamation, Madam Mayor, to the Assyrian Genocide exhibition that took place at CSU Stanislaus. I have invited Dr. Erin Hughes from CSU Stanislaus, who's the director of the Sargas Modern Assyrian Heritage Project. She's here with me today, and we have a little guest with us as well. It is truly humbling when we have the opportunity to inform and educate our community about atrocities from the past, because it is that education that hopefully helps us become better neighbors, kinder to each other, and much better human beings. Thank you again. Here's Dr. Hughes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor and City Council, and of course Carmen, who has been an incredible champion of our work in this exhibition. Oh, sorry, this is Ari. He was just so excited to attend.
Welcome, Ari.
I wanted to first quickly thank Kathy Sayed-Zatari, Ruth Camper, and Hannibal Chavez, who helped curate this exhibition. Our goal in it was exactly that, of public education, of trying to center Assyrian stories of what happened to their families, of survival and resilience and loss. And to be able to do that in a public venue to educate our community and the students. And we're so appreciative to those who let us tell their stories and those who came to hear those stories. And we couldn't have done it without California Humanities, Francis Sargas, and California State University, the Syrian Arts Institute, and the Syrian Studies Association. So thank you all so much for recognizing this incredibly important day, and we're so appreciative of it all.
You're very welcome. Do we have any comments from council members?
I'll defer to Councilmember Canoyer, and then after she's done, if
All
I may.
right, Councilmember Canoyer.
Yeah, I just want to say that the Syrian community has been such a big part of the Stanislaus County and the city of Modesto. And I have just always felt honored and privileged and actually a family member of them. And unfortunately, I was not able to attend for the very first time this last Sunday. But I can't tell you how much they mean to me and how much this Syrian community means to our city. And so thank you very much. I just am feel honored to be considered part of their family. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Councilmember Scooby Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Councilmember Canoyer said, and I was absolutely privileged to be part of a community this past Sunday that recognized August the 7th as a Syrian Remembrance Day. And the community told their story through anecdotes and through these beautiful paintings. Genocide is an atrocity, and it's really important that that the Syrian community know that they are supported, and in the remembrance of those that gave their lives so that others could live. So we share in your pain, and we share in your keeping the memories of your past alive. And thank you for being here.
Right.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate the comments also with Councilmember Madrigal. He was always supportive. As I said, I look forward to work with the entire council for any future projects. As you know, the Assyrian community is a very vibrant, resilient community. And genocide is just one part of our identity. We're also entrepreneurs, business people, teachers, and educators. So thank you again for honoring us today, and I look forward for being back for future projects.
All right, I see that Councilmember Madrigal has his hand raised, and then when he's done with his comment, we'll give you the proclamation and have photos taken. Councilmember Madrigal?
Oh, yes, real quick, just wanted to thank you, Carmen, for all the inroads you've made in helping to be a bridge builder and really helping to deliver mental health services in the Assyrian community to many people in their own language, which is very important. And so to you and to the entire Syrian community, I just wanted to say, I hope I say this right, Basima, Basimta, Basimeh. I hope I pronounced the thank you correctly in the various male, female, and plural the way that you're supposed to do it in Assyrian. And so thank you for everything. I'll keep it short. And again, I'm also sorry I wasn't able to make it at the last event due to a family commitment I had. But always with you in solidarity.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, and we will come down and give you the proclamation and take a photo.
understand what he was trying to do. One way of looking at it.
Go ahead. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is a presentation of certificates of recognition to members of the Forward Together work group. It is truly my honor to recognize the members of our Forward Together work group. Nearly a year ago, the Modesto City Council launched Forward Together, an engagement initiative on policing in Modesto in response to both local and national events. The 27-member work group, representing a range of community constituencies, volunteered to address 3 focus areas identified by the council following the May 22nd, 2021 listening session: alternative response models, policies and procedures, and police accountability. They have conducted an important evaluation of these areas and developed a comprehensive report of recommendations for our council and community. The work they have done is truly commendable and will be a valuable resource as we move forward together. I will now read the certificate to acknowledge the Forward Together work group's effort. On behalf of the Modesto City Council, I offer our appreciation for your outstanding leadership, dedication, and service to our community as a member of the Forward Together work group. I will now read the names of all the members and the organizations they represented, but before I do that, I'd like to recognize our county partners who provided valuable expertise throughout the process. Ruben Imperial, Stanislaus County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services; Birgit Flatiger, Stanislaus County District Attorney; Jeff Dirksey, Stanislaus County Sheriff; and Jennifer Jennison, Stanislaus County Public Defender. I also want to acknowledge Kate Trumpeter and Michael Baldwin, who assisted in facilitating the discussions. Your partnerships are all greatly appreciated. Forward Together work groups, if you're work group members, if you are here this evening, please come down as I read your name to receive your certificate from Allison, our Deputy City Manager. We will take a group photo after all the certificates have been distributed. You can receive your certificate and then take your seat for council member remarks. First is Aaron Anguiano from Latino Community Roundtable.
Do we clap or hold clap?
Well,
yay, let's
yay.
clap.
Thank you. Next is Aaron Tate from Modesto Police Department Internal Affairs. Alvera Ramirez from El Concilio. Austin Grant, Black Student Union. Sure. Just decided you can take your seats rather than standing for, you never know how long the council members will talk. So I thought I'd just give you a break instead of having to stand. Brad Hahn, Modesto Neighborhoods Incorporated. Dan Starr, Modesto Police Officers Association. Darius Crosby, Modesto Clergy Council. All right. Johnny Garcia, Central Valley Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Jonathan Grammatico, Central Valley Pride Center. Josh Bridegroom, Downtown Modesto Partnership. Leah Ashford, City Ministry Network. Linda Mayo, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Marion Martino, community member. Matthew Mason, Stanislaus County Interfaith Council. Nico Solario, community member. Perfecto Munoz, West Modesto Community Collaborative. Solange Altman, community member. Teresa Gamboa, community member. Thomas Helm, ACLU of Northern California, Stanislaus Chapter. Tim Zerly, Modesto City Schools. Trish Christensen, Modesto Chamber of Commerce. Wendy Bird, NAACP, Modesto Stanislaus. And last but certainly not least, Will Kelly, Stanislaus and Tuolumne Central Labor Council. All right, thank you very much for those of you that were in attendance tonight, and we will certainly recognize those that were not able to make it. Next, any remarks from council members to the Forward Together group? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Chris Rickey.
Well, I just want to thank all you guys for all the work you put into this. I've told lots of people this already, but like the challenge that you had for this was incredible. We had people with widely varying views on law enforcement on this committee, and yet you guys were able to come together and come up with the recommendations for this council. And I'm just so proud of all you and this community for doing that. It's really incredible work, and I'm so excited about the future of this community as a result of what you guys did. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Scooty Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to give my appreciation and my gratitude for all your work. You all, the committee, it was a heavy, heavy lift, and you stepped up, and it was, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it was a personal sacrifice. Sacrifice from time away from your family and time away from your personal commitments. So thank you so much for that. You're walking away providing a product that's going to serve this community well into the future. Congratulations, your work is done, and we are so better off because of that. So thank you with much gratitude for the work you've done. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank all of you for all of your hard work. You know, it's a pleasure to see when a group of people from all different types of lives come together and able to put together something that's really beneficial for this community. My hat's off to all of you. You stuck together, you saw it through, and that's what makes Modesto a great city, because we all love each other and we all learn to work with each other. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you once again for being here. We will now step down and hopefully get a group photo, if you don't mind stepping forward so we can meet you and take a picture.
No, hey, Michael Baldwin has to come up. Oh, yeah.
All right, next is item 4, consider approving the appointment of Omar Silva to the Housing Rehabilitation Loan Committee with a term expiration of January 4th, 2024. Do we have a report regarding this at all? Okay, no report.
Motion to approve?
All right, we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Wright, second by Councilmember Madrigal. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. So it carries 6-0. Item 5, consider reappointing Mary Ramirez to the Housing Rehabilitation Loan Committee with a term of expiration of December 31st, 2025. Are there any comments regarding that?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright, second from Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. The next, item 6, consider recommending appointments to fill 6 vacancies on the Equity Commission for a 4-year term. Do we have a staff report on this? Okay, apparently not. All right, so I have a resolution approving the appointments of Stacy Sotero, Lisa Batista, Maya Ramirez, Gabriela Fierro, Akia Walker, and Myra Martinez to the Equity Commission with a term expiration of August 1st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Ricky, second by Councilmember Scooty Brayton. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutier Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen?
Aye, so it carries 6-0. Thank you very much. I see some people in the audience tonight were appreciative of your service. All right, next is public comment period. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? And this is for items not on the council agenda. And each person has 3 minutes to speak. And I have some blue cards for people that are here in person, as well as it looks like there's some online. So we will start with Louisa Bryant.
This is my 5th appearance before the council, and I would implore you to give me maybe 2 minutes more because there's just too much going on. This has been 6 months of hell, but anyway, I ask that before we start. And it will tie in with the pictures I gave you. To begin with, on February 24th of this year, a second inspection was done by the building inspector, who writes in the case details of case, I'm giving you the case number once, and that's it. It's COD 2022-000345. The following, quote, based on the photos, it appears that management replaced the siding, which on the lid of the patio. They covered up mold and dry rot on the structural floor joist. Will call management to let them know that they need a permit to do the work and rotted wood needs to be removed. On March 7th, this year, a notice of violation was issued, filed with the city, and sent to the owners. Carbon copies were also sent to the owners in error, and for this reason, I never received a copy of this notice until July 5th, this after I requested at the June 22nd meeting with city officials that they provide me with the copies of all documents included in my case filed. Seeing that despite many requests by me, no documents were given to me, except one notice of inspection by a building inspector on February 15th and printed on February 22nd. The summary of the violations, and there were 2, reads, quote, obtain a permit for the repair of the balcony above Unit 120, have a licensed contractor assess the floor trusses of joists, and advance an adjacent walls for dry rot and mold. Take corrective action to properly repair all mold as necessary. Have a licensed hygienist verify that all mold had been abated. Now, for the record, no application for any permit was ever submitted, and we're talking February to the present date, to the city or filed by the city. There are 2 violations still open. No action has been taken by the city to investigate the brazen failures of the owners to correct these violations. I'm sorry, this is too much, and I have to. I believe and allege these serious indiscretions could be explained by the fact that this notice of violation is a falsified legal document, and quote, in California, filing a false document with a California public office is a felony. Details of falsification are available at your upon request. I have everything. I further allege and believe that this falsification led to the falsifying of records of the case detailed on the same case number. This falsity was completed by individuals making false statements or otherwise tampering with a public record with the intent to conceal wrongdoing, which can be a crime. And those details, anything you want, I have.
Okay. Louisa?
This is important, very important, because I've been here 5 times in 6 months of hell. And it's only one more page.
All right, can you try to wrap the comments
Okay,
up?
I can't speak any faster. This is my problem from this mold exposure, plus the fatigue. Okay, I'll go as fast as I can. Although no permit No inspection, no repair work is ordered in the March 7th notice of violations that has been attempted, acknowledged, or completed by the owners. To this day, the owners contrived to submit a fraudulent mold inspection report to the city, who accepted it as a legal document, although I provided this panel and many city employees with copies of the analysis and testing of a reputable mold inspection company. For some clarification, I ask that you compare the analysis offered by both companies. The fraudulent report that was 2 pages, quote, surface sample did not indicate mold growth on the surface sampled. No air samples, only surface samples. The company hired by me reported in the air sample summary, quote, extremely elevated levels of fungal spores were found in samples taken at this time. It continues in a more detailed thing. There were 13 pages.
One thing I can assure you is that we've received all of your reports.
No, because I have asked for a meeting with you, city officials.
We did meet.
And I gave you papers. But this is going on. I'm trying to get across to you that misconduct in a very, very bad way is happening. But like I said, if you could just let me, how can I cut down the misconduct that's been done in this last 6 months, which I am here at 86 years old. I am putting up with medical problems, and I can't stand that. I can't allow this misconduct to continue. The crimes are being committed. You're changing records. You're allowing fraudulent records to go through and tell me if you just let me. It's getting to a point. I'm going to finally listen where you get the pictures. Okay, here. Finally, for this on the July 27th, and I cannot get the report that was made by your city inspector. Okay, that's on the 27th, 28th when I came in. This is what, and then I'll, citing the reason was to check, excuse me, I was given a 24-hour notice of entry citing the reason to check the balcony to comply with a certain health and safety code number. They informed me verbally that they would need to have access to this patio ceiling. And remember what I said about the patio ceiling, that they cleaned it and put a new panel on, okay? And you were fooled, okay? But they informed me that they would need to have access to the patio ceiling and needed me to unlock the gate. I made clear that they would need a permit, and an official from the City of Modesto as a witness, knowing it was impossible. I knew it was impossible to inspect the balcony above my patio through the patio ceiling because there's a cement slab separating the balcony floor and the roof of the patio. So it was an intentional whatever. When the 6 participants arrived and attempted to enter my patio, I refused to unlock the gate. I explained to the engineer that he needed to have a permit to remove the panel in the patio ceiling, and that that was when the city inspector came into it and said, who was there as a witness, declared he had the authority to permit the engineer to enter the patio. I disagreed and gave my explanation as to why he shouldn't. I told him, this is important,
okay,
that
Louisa, you'll need to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm telling them they couldn't do it, and they couldn't because you can't take a panel off a ceiling, a damaged panel off a ceiling, and replace it with a new one without construction, and that takes a permit. And also you can't, I don't believe the legality of putting up a panel with rotted walls, visible rotted walls. Okay, anyway, the engineer, I gathered, agreed somewhat with me because all he did was take pictures of other. Then it came to what you have in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, the structural damage, it's dangerous. The gap is opening, you can see it opening, and I am in danger. And my health is shot to hell. Forget that. But tonight, please, don't direct me to anybody else. Please do something. You've got the proof right there that the mold is there, because the panel they put up is now opening up. The gap is opening so wide. And the mold is coming out, plus the rotting
We
wood.
have the picture and we hear you.
You have the picture. That's the visible inspection that
Right.
your city inspectors can only do visible. So now it's visible.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't take much more. Please, tonight, do something. That you can't keep, you're committing crimes now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mayor. I
That's all right.
apologize to all of you, but I am very...
Okay, we hear you. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care of yourself.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye-bye. Next online, we have Wilson Trong.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. I'm here on behalf of the California Mortgage Relief Program. We're managed by the California Homeowners Relief Corporation and part of the California Housing Finance Authority. I want to share a message that the Mortgage Relief Program is providing $80,000 to eligible homeowners to pay up to 2 past due mortgage payments before June 2022. And also property tax has now been added to cover 1 payment prior to May 2022. So this is part of a effort to relieve homeowners from mortgage payments due to COVID complications and economic decline. Just a little bit more information, you must be a single family home at or below 150% area median income. More eligibility information is at camortgagerelief.org. Again, camortgagerelief.org. I'll also share more details to the council members tonight via email and follow up for any questions or answers that y'all may have. So it's a free program by the state, using federal dollars to help homeowners stay in their homes. Thanks so much.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Next, Steve Allen.
Good evening. I am hopeful about certain aspects of what I see, hopefully taking shape through the work of Forward Together. But I'm not going to just stay silent and not state the utterly obvious in that y'all are celebrating a little prematurely. You know, and I get that people deserve recognition for their hard work, but it really sucks to watch you guys congratulate yourselves so much, knowing that the Modesto Police Department continues to let this community down. And I'm tired of coming here knowing that you guys look at me as some crazy fool, whatever, not that I care, but here's the thing, this is just common, basic, I'm a human, so I care. I'm tired of seeing the political crap that keeps you guys from bringing about real change. Officer Mertz was overconfident and sloppy as hell in his police work. No one seems to care all that much from what I see. Because of his shitty police work, he created a situation where he had to shoot someone who is also now facing murder charges. That's disgusting. So that's one strike against what I see to be recent proof of the fruit of Forward Together. Not long after that, July 14th, so 10 days after that, Modesto police murdered again. I don't care what kind of word your political framework calls for you to use, but Muncie murdered Paul C.J. Chavez, and it is utterly obvious. Don't be crazy. If we can't measure the success of Forward Together by whether or not cops kill for shits and giggles, then you guys are the villains. Absolutely, that is how we test to see if this is working. I realize that these things have not been implemented yet, but it's crazy how many specific factors of both of those situations were constantly discussed in these groups for more than a year. It's like you couldn't invent a better example of the failings of you, yes, you, along with the police department in this entire damn city and our corrupt district attorney and those who work under her. There was no reason for Paul Chavez to die. I am tired of that militant attitude that somehow we excuse police feeling the need to quickly wrap it up by taking a life. That's absolutely insane to me. I do want to say it is a relief to see one less face of a disgusting bigot in this place tonight. And you guys have a lot of work to do. And I want you, Mr. Wright, to know that if there was a photo op and I was in it with you, I would leave the room because I don't want to be seen with you. I'm ashamed of your behavior, and I want to see real results so that we can actually celebrate the hard work of people in that work committee. And that we can actually seriously tell people that they can be safe in Modesto, and that if they have a bad night, they won't be murdered by a cop.
All right. Next, we have David Froba. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm here with a group of the Housing Committee from the NAACP, and we're concerned about the Muni Golf Course. It's been unused now for several years and is, for all intents and purposes, surplus land, and we would ask that the City Council expeditiously get moving on Muni and do something. There's been a number of things suggested to do with the Muni Golf Course, but obviously the greatest need is to fulfill workforce housing in this community, and we would ask you to move expeditiously to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Ramon Rodriguez. Online.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. Again, this is like, I don't know, I'm not sure how many times I spoke regarding police violence happening in Modesto, but the city should be ashamed for, first of all, I saw the whole, what Steve Allen put words, and I agree with him, but also, you guys are letting the culture of violence going on in Modesto still with letting cops use excessive force. Have you guys not learned the lesson since the murder of George Floyd 2 summers ago? And I also remember the photo op that then Assistant Chief Gillespie and then Chief Carroll doing performative kneeling to show solidarity, and they promised to be a better police department for the community. But guess what? Half a year later, Trevor Sear was murdered by Joseph LaMattia. And also, almost 2 months later, after Trevor's death, 4 Modesto officers beat up Alonso Muniz, and he still hasn't got justice. He's still got medical bills to pay, and he got a resisting arrest charge as part of a plea deal because the district attorney was playing blah blah and butt kissing the cops for beating him. Also, the same DA is now charging a person with mental illness for attempted murder, despite the fact that he's suffering through a mental crisis. And the officer who's buddies with Joseph LaMattia, he was handling well in the beginning until the end, but he failed. And what he did was disgusting and shot at his face. This is disgusting. Also, again, 10 days later, you got Paul Chavez murdered by Modesto police. That same officer was involved 5 years ago in another shooting. And also, I learned another thing about Officer Muncie is that when LaMattia shot Trevor afterwards, they came. And this is the same Sam Muncie who pointed his AR-15 at Trevor when he was pleading for his life, crying and pleading for his life. And when LaMattia brought that first aid kit, and that's the same officer. Muncie was providing the first aid kit to Trevor. And he unhumanly said to Trevor that, sorry, bro, after he got shot 7 times by LaMattia. When are you guys going to start changing? This is not fair for the community. The people are going to live in fear for cops shooting or using force. And it's disgusting. So you have to forward together. you need to step up, put a lot of work, make Modesto police accountable to the public, not more PR nonsense. Because this is just disgusting. And if you guys don't hold them accountable, more people are going to get hurt, more people are going to die, and more people are going to face charges for something they did not do. And cops are going to let around roam free, doing absolutely nothing without holding accountable. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Leroy Gambrill.
Hello, Mayor and the council members. I'm here to speak on the behalf of the affordable housing, specifically the golf course. The taxpayers owns 54 acres of land, and there's 14,500 unhoused people in Modesto. You have a copy of the deeds and restrictions on housing here in Modesto. And if you notice the restriction of the deeds at one time, and it's still very present, that only white people could own real estate here in Stanislaus County. And some of that is still going on now. You have you have enough money to fix some of these problems this housing. You have attorneys that works for the City of Modesto that's doing things that's costing the taxpayers unnecessary revenue. As you note that here in this building where we are, there is probably the city has to pay out about $75,000 for things that the lawyers did wrong in this building. And before you became mayor, the last administration, there was another city female, was a city attorney here in Modesto that caused the taxpayers $43,000 because she had a friend of hers that wanted to house one of her children into a daycare in San Joaquin County. So she told the attorney altered her time card. So when it goes back to the authorities, they want to know who altered the time card. So she lied and said that they had to do an investigation. So they sent it out to a firm in San Jose. It cost $43,000. And then when it came back, they said that, hey, look, there was no harm done. It was only done $43,000 to the taxpayers. So that's something that is going on. Now, there is it's my understanding when they passed the law for lottery, that money was supposed to come through these cities. So we never hear anyone talking about the lottery money. So, and when they pass a law to agree for this cannabis, now all this money coming from this cannabis, we don't hear the city or no one from the county talking about this revenue. Here recently, one of the cannabis owners was paying $550,000 a year in taxes. The Board of Supervisors decided that they was gonna reduce his tax liability to 50% of that, which is $275,000. There's another cannabis company here. They was paying $600,000 a year. The county reduced theirs to $300,000. That's over $500,000. That money could be used for affordable housing. So those are some of the things. Now, as far as the cannabis, these companies is making a lot of money because they're putting the cannabis into different things. You name it, they're putting it in there.
All right, are you able to wrap it up here
Yes,
pretty quickly?
yeah.
Thank you.
So we just need for the city and you, Madam Mayor, to look at these things and this money that's being wasted unnecessarily because of city employees that's doing things. And I know that there's another killing that's coming down the pipes, and it's going to come down pretty quick, and it's going to cost the city a lot of money. So we need to look at where you're spending this money and hold some of these agencies accountable. And if they can't do what they're supposed to be doing, then hey, look, they need to find another job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next online, we have Brittany Estrella Chavez.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want to start off by saying that I am the wife of Paul David Chavez Jr. My name is Brittany Estrella. And looking at what I just looked at for being a city council, I am by far outraged. These type of meetings isn't supposed to be about you or for you. These type of meetings are supposed to be for the people when they have real freaking problems. Such as one, Sam Moonsie, who came to my house, my parents' house, on a distress call that he was intoxicated, to be tased, and then shot twice and killed. You're supposed to be helping us, working with us, but not you or anybody else seems to freaking care, and that bothers me. It makes my blood boil. I have been sitting here all day writing, rewriting, paragraphing what I was going to say to you guys, but now it makes sense. Y'all work together. And this is freaking bogus, because then you're the problem too. You're the problem, first responders are the problem, the police department's the problem, and so is the damn DA. All of you are the problem. You sit there and say, oh, we're here so that way we can help you and help others and make us a better community. F your community, because Modesto sucks. I've never been in such a sucky town. I thought Stockton was bad. Nah, Stockton's coming over here now, is what it seems like. I don't understand how you can wake up every single day and you're, oh, I'm gonna go to this council meeting, blah, blah. Like, are you serious right now? Paul David Chavez Jr., my husband, deserves justice. Sam Moonsie, whatever the hell his name is, needs to go to damn jail. Because obviously the system doesn't work. So it needs to be flip-flopped. It needs to be that they need to be held accountable just like a regular civilian, because if they were, I bet you they would think twice of even taking that gun out. I bet you a lot of people would think twice, just like the EMT who went over to go to my husband very slowly. So I'm demanding justice for my husband. I want to see Sam Moonsie in jail, and he needs to be fired right fucking now. Not tomorrow, not later, right now, because he's a murderer. And this is just outrageous. Because if it was the other way around, I would be in jail, right? I would have to have bail even if that was even an option, right? But they get special privileges? Why? Tell me why they get special privileges. Because my sister didn't get special privileges when she came and they coerced me to come out of the house for me not to go back because all of a sudden they just called it a crime, whatever. And then I go to my sister for them to tackle her. Mind you, she's 4'11" and like 110 pounds. 5 cops tackled her down. When her husband intervened, get off my wife, they tackled him down and then put him to jail. After knowing that they know that what I had seen, which was my husband's murder. Your whole police force sucks. And for you guys not to do a change, for you not to consider it, not to have an urgency of, wait, this is too much going on at one time. What is it that we're going to do? Oh, my bad. What was that reform group that you guys were just talking about just a little bit earlier? Forward Together? That just happened last year. Oh, congratulations, you didn't do shit. You didn't do anything. Because every day, I and other people have to sit there and wonder, when they hear that ambulance, when they hear the cop sirens, when they hear fire, it doesn't matter. You get PTSD, who's next? I hope to God no one is next. And then you start praying because you're sitting there like, I hope to God this don't happen to anybody else. I hope to God, Jesus, because this is not okay. This is far from being okay, and you allow murderers to freaking still be employed, to still carry a gun, to vote, to do anything. Yet when our army guys, such as one is my brother, he goes to the army, but if he can't have, if he won't even take the freaking vaccine, that makes him a traitor. He can't even get a job at fucking McDonald's. So when you got something like this that happens, I want to see the same thing. He needs to be stripped from his job, his title. He should not be able, or anybody who shoots, fires, and kills somebody for no freaking reason, should not even be able to go look for a job as a first responder. I also believe that all first responders should be wearing a body cam, because what I seen how those EMT came up to my husband, nonchalant, walking like he wasn't, I don't know, trying to survive, because he was still breathing. And then they walked back with the gurney, and I'm sitting there with me and my mom, pleading to my husband, stay safe, you got 3 boys, you got me, we love you so much, don't go. And he's breathing. I'm thinking, God's got my back, man, God's got my back. And then they went back and they got that gurney, nonchalant, slow as shit. And they pulled that gurney out and put his body on there. He's still breathing. Just for you to go into the ambulance and sit there, and I started hitting the heck out of my truck because I already knew. And my mom sitting there was like, it's okay, baby, he's gonna be okay. I said, if he was okay, Mom, why did they do what they just did? And that EMT van is still not moving. It would have left. The sirens would have been on.
Brittany?
The police chief is a problem. The DA is a problem. Oh, believe me, I've been doing my research, and I will do my research on everyone.
Brittany?
Not playing anymore because I am so beyond hurt.
Brittany, do you hear me?
Yeah, I do hear
you. Okay. I just wanted to see if you could conclude your comments. We hear you.
Okay, I'll conclude my comments. The police chief, the Modesto Police Department, the City of Modesto, the EMTs, y'all are tied together, and I don't like that. Secondly, I want the DA to pick up this case because that tail hitch was not being used as a weapon. He was walking it back to my parents' house. Third, you guys need to not consider, but actually get your asses up and do something to get this crap result. Because who's next? Who's freaking next? Is it going to be your son? Is it going to be your husband? Your daughter, your wife? It doesn't matter, because a distress call now means, you know what, doesn't matter. I get to pull out my gun. I get to shoot as I please. Well, Sam Lindsay needs to be fired, and he needs to go to jail. Well, not even jail, but he needs to sit in jail until his trial, until his hearing, and he needs to be sentenced to prison. You guys need to do something, and it's called reform. Stop freaking talking about it. Get your butts up and start doing something about it. Or you need to be removed too, because you're the problem too. And I'm sick and tired of people just sit there and talk about crap, but they don't mean shit. I'm done.
Thank you. All right. Next we have in person Sharon Froba. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Froba. I'm housing chair of the local NAACP. I'm here with others to advocate for workforce housing at the site of the former municipal golf course. It's a no-brainer. There are 54 acres that the City of Modesto owns. And there are 15,485 households in our county that are in search of more affordable housing. It's more than 15,000 because each household may have 2, 3, or 4 or more people. So it's thousands more than 15,000. I'm not including unhoused individuals in that number. And 76% of those households are paying over 50% of their monthly income on rent and utilities. In addition, the California Housing Partnership's May report has indicated that rents have gone up 10% in the last quarter. I'm happy to note that our city has hired Opticos, the Berkeley architectural firm that created opportunity sites on available land locally. I attended their presentation, and I was impressed that their opportunity site for the municipal golf course included 555 units of mixed housing. I look forward to more from Opticos. The last time I was here, I told you about the history of Modesto that my husband and I are involved with. Specifically, we're gathering housing restrictions. Fortunately, they're no longer legal thanks to the Fair Housing Act of 1968. But we know we can't avoid the thought that people of color have endured the most housing discrimination. Even though the 1968 law came into effect, it still matters. Because if you or your parents weren't able to buy a house in 1940, 1950, 1960, you weren't able to start accumulating wealth. You couldn't leave a house to your children, and they couldn't leave it to their children. Every restriction we have found so far, 91 of them, 91 subdivisions, excludes black people from home ownership. That's why black wealth is only 5 to 10% of white wealth. Last time I was here, I gave you a restriction for a Princeton Avenue home. Today, I have a restrictive covenant of the Bernard tract in the area of the main post office on Kearney, built in 1947. It reads as follows: lots or any portion thereof shall not be used in any manner whatsoever or occupied by any Negro, Chinese, Japanese, Hindu, Malayan, Mexican, Cuban, or native of the Turkish Empire, or any person not of the Caucasian race or descendant thereof, except as the servant of the occupant. One good piece of news is that after reading Richard Rothstein's The Color of Law, we communicated with him. And he will be writing another book, and I'm happy to say Modesto will be in it.
Thank you. Online, we have Teresa Clutter.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Teresa, and I am the mother-in-law of Paul Chavez, who was shot and killed by Modesto PD on July 14th. In front of myself, my husband, and his wife, who is my daughter, while his 3 children were inside our house and heard the gunshots that murdered their father. Sam Muncie murdered my son, and he is still free. Samuel Muncie murdered my son, and he is still employed. Sam Muncie murdered my son, and he still can carry a gun and be on the workforce. This is not Sam Muncie's first murder. This is his second. Why isn't anyone held accountable? Why is this okay? How many non-threatening civilians have to die before reform and accountability takes place? Why is change just a subject on your calendars to talk about, but never put into action? This is a Modesto problem, and there is no solution. No one cares because it doesn't affect you personally. Shoot to kill on a non-threatening drunk call should never be an option. However, it was the first and only option for Sam Muncie. How many more lives will Modesto PD take before it's enough? To me, 1 was too many. And as we all know, including all of you on this panel, you know how many there have been. And still, there is no reform. Still, there is no change. Still, these officers get to be employed and keep their jobs and have pensions and go home to their spouses and to their loved ones, while the families, the victims of them, get to mourn the loss of their loved ones that don't get to have that anymore. But because they wear a uniform, it's okay. When you shoot to kill and your life is not threatened, there should be some kind of program that you have to go into afterwards. And it shouldn't be for a few months. It should be for a few years. And they should be retrained and make sure that they are mentally prepared and that those officers don't have PSD from all of this stuff. Because I have it. Because I don't feel safe. Every time I hear a siren, I'm wondering where it's going and what's going on and if those people are okay, because it's not just a simple call anymore. I know that my family will never call Modesto PD for anything ever again. And that saddens me that we will have to police our own family because we're safer than them. I want justice for my son, who no longer has a voice. We, his family, are now his voice, and we're coming. So hold tight. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. God bless you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ron Deloach.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Ron Deloach. I represent the West Modesto Community Collaborative. I'm also the chairman of the West Modesto People of Action Council, and I'm here representing the NAACP Housing Committee. And we are here to talk about the 54 acres that are standing alone in West Modesto. We are in desperate need of housing in West Modesto. We have horror stories that we want to bring to the council's attention that hasn't been spoken about recently. We want to be able to speak out and have some positive reaction from the council. For one, we want to know, when is there going to be a decision made about what happens to the 54 acres? Are we going to build housing there? Is it just a matter of time that needs to be gathered before we actually break ground? We want to know. We have too many families that are sharing homes with other families, that are living in people's backyard. They have pitched tents and are currently living in people's backyards. You know, it's hard for us to live in the area and not feel sympathy for the people that live like that. We want answers about what's going to happen with that 54 acres. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and is there a resolution coming that we haven't heard about or is being mentioned? And we aren't just up here speaking. We are gathering residents who are concerned also. A lot of them have homes, but a lot of them are concerned that what needs to be done here in West Modesto should be done, you know, without any more hesitation. You know, we want to be an active part of Modesto. You know, we want to be the ones that can look up and say, okay, I live over there in that nice complex, you know, and mean it. Not building anything that's Robinson Road related. We're far from that. We have ideas. What we want to do is find out, is the city going to help with the contracting of these homes? Or we have to get private funding? Those are some of the things we need to hear from the city council. How can we break ground and be content with what's going to happen with that 54 acres? There's a lot of people in West Modesto speaking with us about how it should be handled. There's too many people out of not living correctly. And I'm not
I
talking.
think what I'm going to do is I cannot answer specifically in regards to your specific questions about that, and it's not on the agenda, so I'm not allowed to. We aren't, as a council, able to make any decision or address it too extensively, but we can ask staff to address what we know so far, which would be helpful for me also. So, okay. Jalen, would you be able to comment at all on the status of where we are? Or excuse me, since we can't, it's not an agenda item, so we can't really discuss it publicly, but what I would like to do is have you speak with Jalen French about what the current status is on the Optico's work and the Muni Golf Course.
Yes, it'll be somewhat of relief to us by knowing what our status is as far as that land goes. We want to be able to share that information with our residents so that they drive by it every day. They see some of the trees are rotting and falling down, and they need answers.
Okay. I think that'd be great. And maybe if you can have that conversation with Jalen, then of course it would be helpful for us also to have somewhat of an update, since we have so many still concerned about that, as we are also. So thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right. Next I have Joshua Clutter online.
Hello, I'm Alicia Hager, talking on behalf of Joshua Clutter. I am a victim of police treatment. I'm pleased that you guys are all familiar with Forward Together, so we don't have to get into the nits and crannies of what you guys haven't gotten done. I would like to go over time. June 29th, 2022, our Earth lost 1.27 seconds, becoming the slowest spin in history, making our time of an essence. July 14th, 2022, time was even more of an essence to my family, taken from my brother's life from Sam Nunzi. Time was chosen over my brother's medical health. Time was chosen over speaking to him at all. My brother's last words were, "Just chill, give me some time." 2 shots were shot 6 seconds after that. As we know, 6 seconds is a long time. Just think. Seconds after that, screams. Seconds after that, they chose to speak to one another. They chose to cover their ass. They chose to plan, if you will, on how they can get back to their families, because they know that this disturbance call that they thought was going to be a quick call now is turned into a crime scene. With it becoming a crime scene, I ran to my brother and my sister as fast as I could with the intention of holding her and maybe giving him his last religious prayer over his body as I deserve. Instead, I was thrown in jail to mourn disrespectfully. They wanted me to shut up. Make her shut up. Get that girl out of here. Make her shut up. Because I demanded, what happened? Where is he? As they pulled the yellow tape from the street towards my body and asked me, why did you go underneath that tape? You're arrested. Why did you do that? They were extending their crime scene, they say. But really, they were extending their time. The time that they had taken that we will never get back was the time that they used to cover their own act. Now the DA doesn't want to pick up the case because they're trying to buy more time. It's not affordable. This time you can't buy. We need this shit to change now, not tomorrow, right now, yesterday, last year, the last 2 murderers. Not tomorrow, not with the next child, not with Trevor, not with Paul David Chavez, not with anyone, right now. If you're not part of the solution, you're only part of the problem. And for that, I blame you. For that, I blame the city, I blame the council, I blame the DA. And if you do not make the DA or push the DA to pick up this case, you're only telling us that we're not safe and his life meant nothing to you, and that your guys' seat and your guys' pat on the back the first 10 minutes with your coffee together means more than somebody being able to kiss their kids goodbye, kiss their kids goodnight. That means more to you than being able to have another Christmas or another, I need my brother. Can I talk to him, please? I just want to talk to my brother because I know when you are having a bad day, who do you call? You know why? Because Sam Nupsi wasn't there to stop it. So who will stop him? It must be started with you. And if it's not, I will be back to tell you again, to say his name. It won't be ignored. You will say his name. Pick up the case and say his name. Paul David Chavez. Pick up the case. You'll say his name. Paul Chavez. And I'm done with you. Until the next time when you don't do your crime.
All right. Next, Austin Grant. Is he still here? I don't see Austin. Oh, here he comes. Welcome, Austin.
Good evening, members of the council. I'm here to speak on municipal golf course. I truly believe that we might need to look at that as far as the homeless issue that we have here. Now, I'm not going to be here to actually down talk the council about their recent work as far as housing. Currently, I'm asking if it can be added to the plan. A good 4,300 homes, maybe 5,000 is something that the city, I think, is preparing to do in the next 5 to 10 years. But however, I believe that the municipal golf course would be very beneficial to our city as far as adding housing for our West Side residents. When I took a look at the plan, it didn't seem like it had enough housing on the West Side. I truly believe that we do have a big migration pool here. We are in the perfect area when it comes to the Bay Area, and also Los Angeles. It's only about 5 hours, 6 hours away. But however, some of our residents that have been living here for 20 to 25 years have children now that can't even live in the area that they were actually raised in, even with the money that they have. And that could even be families with $50,000 or $60,000 as far as full income for a family. And some of these people are living in garages. Recently, I saw a picture where people are actually having to rent out their driveways for people. And I would like to thank Chris Rickey for actually having the idea for safe parking. I mean, that's something, that gives us something to work with. But however, municipal golf course could fit, I heard about 5,000 homes. That's not even including if we added tiny homes. Tiny homes, I believe, would actually fit maybe 7,000 to 10,000 there. And with the unhoused residents that we have here in the city, that could be a really good idea. But just throwing that out there. But I really do feel like if we don't utilize that area as an area for housing, I think we're kind of doing us ourselves a disservice to the community that actually lives here and that's been here. I'm a resident here. I have my master's degree. I work well, but I'm living currently with my parents because it's just very tough to get an apartment here. The rent is crazy. I can go to Fresno right now. I think they have a bigger pool of people. I know we're closer to the Bay Area, but their apartment structure is that a 2-bedroom, 1-bath is about $1,400, but here the average is about $1,650, and that's even on parts of the West Side where there's not that much action or it's a lot of crime there. That's what it puts that. That's what you guys put out there. So I truly believe that we need to change municipal golf course and actually change it for a residency area for housing for our citizens. And also, too, maybe it's time to actually have a different golf course and have a more modern golf course. I think that would be good recreationally for our city as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, online, we have Patrick Worley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Paul David Chavez on July 14, 2022 was murdered by Officer Samuel Muncie of Modesto Police Department. If this was a regular citizen committing this public execution, he or she would have to enter a plea already for a murder trial. But because this is an officer that we pay, protect, and serve, we are left in the dark as a murderer walks amongst us. Be careful, everyone. Murdering Officer Samuel Muncie might be behind you in line at the bank, ordering a coffee in front of you at Starbucks, or picking up children from your local elementary school. Paul Chavez was a father of 3 and a loving husband, a caretaker of his 85-year-old grandmother and younger brother, after both of their parents died while they were teenagers. Paul was a great friend to anyone he met, and brother. There was no urgency that day to save Paul's life. Paul's last words were, "It's cool, it's cool, it's cool, chill." Paul was a person like you and me, and now he is no longer has his life because of a murderer, Officer Samuel Muncie. This is not Officer Samuel Muncie's first homicide as a Modesto police officer either. Modesto has a problem with not having accountability for their officers regarding murders. Paul Chavez no longer has his voice, but we as a community will stand up. His voice for change will be heard. Sam Muncie should face charges immediately for his crimes of murder. I will be at every single one of these meetings until my body ceases to breathe. Modesto Police, away, one of my best friends, and there's no answers. That's all I have to say, because I'm utterly sick and disgusted with the process.
All right, next we have Bianca Lopez.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I too am here to demand justice for Paul Chavez, but in addition to also justice for Dylan. As you know, on the 4th of July, Dylan had a mental health issue and needed assistance, or his dad needed assistance. And unfortunately now he's facing criminal charges because a cop failed to secure the scene. And now Paul Chavez is no longer with us. He was murdered by Officer Muncie. It's obvious through today's council meeting and before it that the community does not trust the police, and lip service is not sufficient. Justice delayed is justice denied, and we cannot continue to pretend that this so-called independent investigation by the department, the police department and the DA are truly independent. It is actually a farce. As you recognize the Forward Together Committee, I'd like to urge the City Council to be well prepared with questions for the workshop that's scheduled on the 11th of this month and tailored specifically for your concerns and your understanding. We, the community, urge you to no longer delay and take a vote to approve and pass recommendations from the Forward Together Committee. We want a civilian review board, an independent auditor, and in addition, a major incident committee that will respond to the community as soon as possible without delay. In addition, I'd like to request as well that the city encourage the Modesto Police Department to publish the names of the officers who are supposedly trained for this chat or have received mental health training. We need transparency and we need accountability now. Please do not delay. Stop killing us. No justice, no peace. No killer police. Not in our community, no more. Justice for Dylan, justice for Paul, justice for Trevor, justice for Rita Elias, justice for Francisco Moran, justice for so many other people who have been murdered by the hands of the people who are supposed to protect us. If we don't hold the police accountable, then who will? Because it's not, I tell you for sure, it's not the DA, and it's not internal affairs. They are all friends. They all work together for the same system. We need an independent civilian review board, an independent auditor, and a major incident committee. No justice, no peace, no killer police. We need transparency and accountability now.
Thank you. Next is Darlene Ruiz.
Good evening, City Council. This is Darlene Ruiz, Trevor Sieber's mom. I'm calling on behalf of Paul Chavez, and I'm urging City Council in 2 days, you guys are getting the forward together recommendations that you pass this and implement this, because obviously another life has been lost, like my son, in the hands of police. I feel like we're too late and somebody else has lost their life and we didn't do anything. All of us should feel like there's blood on our hands if we haven't implemented anything and hold these police accountable. Make some real change in Modesto. Let's stop pushing the papers and make real change happen. We need accountability. We need to stop the killings in Modesto. Thank you.
Next online is Anna. Are you there? Can you unmute? All right, maybe we're having some difficulty there. So next is Emerson Drake.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I'd like to discuss transparency. On July 8th, the City of Modesto ran an ad in the Modesto Bee, or a public notice. It was talking about council elections. When I was reading through it, I noticed at the bottom the dates were wrong. Not necessarily a big deal, but by the same token, it's a public notice. You would think they would be concerned. So I just picked up the phone, called down to the city and pointed it out to them. Well, they basically didn't get back on this question. They just said they'd look into it. But apparently, since they'd ever repeated this particular notice, they decided it wasn't worthy of correction. But on July 10th, I was sitting there going through the Modesto Bee again, and what do I see? The notice for the tax measure. Well, interestingly enough, it appeared to be almost chopped off at the bottom. When you compared it to the notices that the Board of Supervisors of the county had in, you looked at ours, and I'm thinking, well, what's missing here? Then I realized there's no date to write the con for the ballot measure. So on Monday, I contacted the city and pointed it out to them. Well, quite honestly, they said, well, we'll look into it. And they hemmed and hawed. And Tuesday, July 12th came and went. The city council meetings, the reason I pointed out, nobody said a word. On Wednesday, I believe it was, they got back to me and said, well, you know, the law doesn't require us to put it in the public notice in the Modesto Bee. I even called the county to ask them a question about it. Well, apparently some of the law is a little archaic. So the citizens of Modesto, if you want to know what's going on legally, you're required to traipse downtown and look at the board outside of 1010 10th Street to see where it's noticed. Or you can try to find it on an ever-changing city website. And I've still never been able to find it. You know, you constantly change the website. Well, you just do it on a regular basis. So my concern is, were you so desperate, even though you talk about transparency, that you made the conscious decision not to put the end date in the public notice so nobody would write a con? And when I was asking around about that during the week, I was shocked to find out that, sure enough, the 12th was the last day to turn it in. I would have been happy to turn it in. Others would have been happy to turn it in. But we weren't aware because the public notice didn't have it in it. So I ask you, why did you make a conscious decision? So to follow it up, I turned in a public record request trying to find out all the emails that might have gone back and forth regarding that tax measure, the 1 cent tax, the $39 million you're so desperate to get in your greedy paws and spend it at will, to see who made where were the decisions made, who made the decision not to inform the public. And then I followed it up with another public record request trying to find out about the missed date, because apparently there were some concerns down there that nobody wanted to talk about. And I can appreciate that. But unfortunately, it would appear to most laymen that the decision, at least part of the decision, was done by the city attorney. And he's the same individual that holds public record requests by the throat and tries to make sure nothing gets out, or as little as possible. He'll probably try to claim it's in the public's best interest not to find out who made these decisions. And that would be ludicrous. But that's where it stands right now. It's an unfortunate situation that the citizens of Modesto have to deal with while you continue to talk about transparency. I thank you very much for your time. I'd like to pull consent number 12. Good evening.
Thank you. Excuse me, what number? 12. 12. Okay. All right. Next, it looks like online we have Anna.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Anna. I am one of Paul David Chavez Jr.'s cousins and understand he has a lot of us. I'd like to start by asking you, if you have not already seen the video, to look up the proof of Paul's murder. As you watch it, do you believe that he was a threat? Did he raise his hand? Had that been your son or husband or your friend, would you have been okay with having to witness this? As you watch it, listen to the cries and the screams of his wife in the background. Do you believe this is okay? Why are we not better equipped to recognize mental health or a person being intoxicated? It is 2022. We need better training. Paul was labeled as uncooperative. When did being uncooperative deserve to die? When did being uncooperative deserve to be murdered? Serve and protect, right? Where was the protection? Why is it comply or die? No answer from anybody on the council? Again, I ask, why is it comply or die? As you sit here and look at your picture you took at the start of this meeting, I ask you to remember that Paul David Chavez Jr. was taken away from a wife, a partner of 16 years, 3 beautiful boys, all under the age of 8. Look into this and make Sam Muncie be held to the same standard as others. The standard that you cannot kill someone because they don't listen to you. We will not let this go. I implore you to please not let this go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Rob Gibson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I'd like to address the council tonight to try and see about you revisiting the city's ordinance right now on limiting houses to only having 2 dogs. I know a lot of folks in Modesto have more than 2 dogs, and I think the city might benefit from them being allowed to have the additional dogs and the city would benefit by getting more revenue by those folks actually licensing those extra dogs. Also, the shelter would be relieved of some of the excess animals that they have, because people would be more encouraged to take on additional animals that they currently can't because of the city ordinance. I wasn't aware of this ordinance when we came to town, and when COVID hit, our children, of course, were locked in and down, and we had 2 dogs originally, and we found 2 puppies at the pound that we adopted and brought home and have had for a year and love, and we were recently cited for having too many dogs, and now have to face getting rid of our 2 family members that we've loved for the last year that helped my kids get through COVID. And I'd like to see the city please review this. There are compassionate people who love their animals as family, like our family. And we'd love to see you guys please put it back to the 4 animals per home. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment? Right. Welcome.
Good evening. This kind of has to do with the tow service agreement thing, but it's just real quick. I came here last month and come before you guys and about the rates, and then the police department got back to me. It was Lieutenant Tate, Lieutenant Adams, and then Carmen Syria. We worked it out, and they were very helpful, and they were able to give us a little more of an increase in some of the fees, so it's going to help out a lot. So I just appreciate the time that they spent on working with us on this. So that's just what I want to say.
All right,
I think
thank
you
you.
guys are voting on it.
All right, appreciate your comments. Yes, it comes up later.
Thanks.
Thank you for addressing us. All right, is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak under public comment? Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Council. Sorry I didn't fill out a card. I wasn't expecting to make public comment today, but as a member of the Forward Together Committee, I didn't feel like I could not say something, so I'm just going to, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Forward Together Committee or any other organization, but just as a person that lived in Modesto and that has gone through this experience. I know that nothing that I can say is going to make anybody feel better that's lost a loved one, that's been through a traumatic incident. If I was part of the problem, I'll be the first to say that, you know, maybe I should have done more. When Trevor Seaver was killed, I remember saying, you know, I was around when Francisco Moran was killed by Officer Lamantia. And I apologized to Trevor's family and say, you know, 10 years before, I wish I would have done more. We held protests, we met with people, we worked with the family to try to get justice. And that officer, unfortunately, still continued to work for the force and killed somebody else. And so all I could think to do was apologize that I didn't do more. And if anybody feels that I should have done more, I'll be the first to say maybe you're right. I felt like accepting the invitation to be part of Forward Together was the right thing at the time. My worst fear kind of came true, that before we can implement any of the changes and reforms that we wanted to see, that this incident happened. It was what was the fear that was in the back of my mind. And I'm just so sorry that the families of not just Paul Chavez, but other people that have suffered abuse have had to go through that. I want to look back at that certificate and the picture that we took and say, even through all of that, I did the right thing and something came out of it. I don't want to look back and be ashamed and say, maybe I should have just kept protesting. Maybe that was still the way to go, but trying something new, you know, I hoped for an outcome, because we did all the protests and I didn't feel like we got any change even 10 years ago. I was there when, with Rita Elias's family, it was mentioned before, Ernest Dueñez's family in Manteca, James Rivera's family in Stockton. I saw the video of Eloy Gonzalez. I've definitely seen enough, and really the only thing I have left to say is let's please take action. And again, this would just be something, I was here today as a member of the committee and to be here for that, but if I was just a citizen, you know, I would want to come up here and just say, yes, it's time to take these actions, and I don't want to look back and see that nothing came of this and that another incident like this happened. That's all I want to get out of this. That's my time, so thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Looks like that's it for comments online and in person. Next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion? Seeing none from the council, is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion? It was requested that we remove item 12. So we will do that.
Mayor, at any point, might you consider taking a couple minutes break?
I certainly would. So we will take a 5-minute break right now. I'll be back at 7:30. Maybe. Welcome back. Will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Yes, Mayor. Consider item number 7, consider approving the minutes from the July 12th council meeting. Item number 8, consider approving a resolution continuing to authorize remote teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. Item number 9, consider approving a first amendment to the agreement with Brenda Davis Law Group to provide cannabis equity consulting services for the development of a cannabis equity program, increasing the agreement amount by $49,050 from $40,000 to a new total of $89,050. Item number 10, consider accepting the monthly investment report for May 2022. Item 11, consider approving the awarded proposal and agreement to PFM Financial Advisors LLC out of San Francisco for municipal advisory services and PFM Swap Advisors LLC for the annual derivative valuation report for 2 years with 3 one-year extension options at a combined estimated annual amount of $150,000 and a total combined amount not to exceed $750,000. Item 12 was removed from consent. Item number 13, consider approving a second cell tower lease amendment to the site lease agreement with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, extending the maximum term of the agreement through August 31st, 2047. Item 14, consider approving the initial study mitigative negative declaration for the Riverdale Park Track Community Services District Water System Consolidation Project in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and making certain findings concerning the environmental impacts and the mitigation measures, approving the mitigation monitoring and reporting program in connection with the Riverdale Park Track Community Services District Water System Consolidation Project contemplated by the ISMND. Item 15, consider accepting the Scenic Drive Pavement Rehabilitation Phase 1 project as complete, authorizing all necessary steps to file with the County Clerk Recorder, releasing securities and releasing payments totaling $1,248,560 to George Reed, Inc. out of Modesto. Item number 16, consider approving the First Amendment with Grover Landscape Services, Inc. from Modesto for the furnishing of landscape maintenance, weed abatement, trash removal, and rodent control services, and increasing the annual amount by $15,000 from $155,000 to a new annual amount of $170,000 for year 3, and including a 10% CPI increase for years 4 and 5.
Move to approve all consent items except item number 10.
12.
Oh, 12.
Second. All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Canoyer and a second from Vice Mayor Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwalin.
Aye, so it carries 6-0. Next, we will go to item 12 on consent, which is consider accepting an informational report from the June 2022 accounts payable, payment register, and void report. We have Deanna Christensen from our finance department here. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Deanna Christensen, Director of Finance. This item is an informational report for the accounts payable register and void report for the month of June of 2002. This item captures the checks and electronic payments issued to our vendors, refunds issued to city customers, and employee reimbursements, travel advances for city employees. In addition, I would like to follow up on the public's questions that have been asked at previous council meetings in regards to the April and the May accounts payable register report. These responses will apply to the questions pertaining as well to any potential questions that might occur as well for the current June report. First, I'd like to start off with the Myers-Nave invoices, which again is captured throughout all 3 months of the register reports that have been presented. The city receives these invoices within the terms of the agreement, which is every 30 days unless otherwise advised. These invoices are processed in a very specialized way and does go through what's called a 3-tier review and approval process, which is very out of the norm from many of our other vendor invoices. These invoices first go through a department-specific review that within each department, which again could even go further down to a manager that would review before authorized by the department director, and ensuring that the invoices that are captured and the services that are being billed were provided and within the required billing rates that are defined under the contract. In addition to that first level of review, it then goes through a second review through our city manager's office to ensure again that they're reviewed, and also confirmation that it has been reviewed by the associated city department that's specified on the invoice. And then finally, the invoices do go through our purchasing division within the finance department for any of those invoices that are over a $50,000 processed within that invoice. So as, again, within that whole review process, there could be anywhere between 3 to 5 staff that are going through a review process to ensure that, again, the accuracy of the invoice is correct before any payment is issued to the vendor. So again, just with the delays that are being presented from the invoice date and when the payments are being issued, that again explains why there is anywhere between 3 to a 6-month delay from the invoice date that was issued, in addition to, again, when the payment's been processed. And please incorporate any time, depending on the department, there could be staff that's on planned time off or out on sick time that, again, could further delay that review and approval process. The next one I want to go over is captured on the May payment register report related to Pacific State Environment. The city processes a variety of construction contracts that are processed through a monthly progress payment to the awarding construction vendor. When those monthly progress payments are being made, it's defined under the construction contract that each monthly invoice has a percentage retainage that's held by the city. In most cases, the percentage could be anywhere between 5 to 10%. So again, we hold that percentage with the city when the monthly progress payment is not issued as part of the monthly payment that's made. Once the construction is completed, there is a separate item that comes before council to approve the completion of that project, which also then gives the city the authority to release that retention. So because, again, those progress payments have defined dates that are referenced under that invoice date, again, it could take anywhere between 2 to 3 years for that construction project to be completed. So when we release the retention, it retains that original invoice date when those monthly progress payments were made. So you could see delays from when the payment's issued up into where the invoice date is defined, which again could be delays anywhere between 1 to 3 years, again, because the retention is held and that original invoice date stays intact from when those monthly progress payments were made. The next one I want to discuss is the Beard land improvement payments that are, again, captured on all 3 register reports in the amount of $6,154.44. The city entered into a 7-year term lease agreement on March 2019, associated with a lease agreement for a Modesto Fire Admin building located on 409 12th Street. This agreement was presented at a public council meeting on March 5th, 2019 under Resolution 2019-110. Due to the safe work environment for our firefighters under Fire Station Number 1, it was evacuated again due to the safe work environment. Firefighters were moved into the admin building adjacent to Station 1, which again did require us to identify a different space location for the admin support staff. This property was identified as a, again, temporary lease agreement until we can address the needs to address Fire Station Number 1. So again, that is a 7-year term lease that again will have monthly progress payment activities. The remaining invoice payment delays that have triggered, again, the other areas that are captured under the questions that were asked. The first area is the city receives, again, quite a few invoices that still come through the U.S. mail. Invoices are unfortunately not received or not directed to the accounts payable team to distribute to the appropriate department. It could take anywhere between 2 to 3 months before the vendors notify the city about these past due invoices, which at the time, the invoice is then eventually provided to accounts payable once the request is aware and the vendor is notified to the city about, again, the past due invoice. City vendors issue monthly statements, but again, not every vendor provides those monthly statements that we can monitor and review past due balances. But again, we continue to work with our vendors to, again, explore ways that we can be notified more timely when those past due invoices do arise. In addition, invoices that are paid, but the vendor does not receive payments, anytime we issue an invoice that does get issued through a check, in addition, those are sent through U.S. mail. Again, sometimes the checks were not received. They don't get distributed to the appropriate address. Again, we work off of the address that's defined in the agreement. And sometimes they could have a specific location where the checks could be mailed, but again, aren't specified under the contract. The vendor will again notify the city, and we will immediately void and reissue the check. When the check is reissued, again, it retains that original invoice date when the check was issued, and again, could further delay anywhere between a 4 to 6 month payment delay. Another example is some invoices trigger a delay in processing because, again, questions are being asked by city departments in regards to the accuracy of the billing and the charges that are being captured. This review could take anywhere between 2 weeks to, again, months, depending on the correspondence between the city and the vendor. In addition, again, with scheduled time off with city staff, or again, as well as on the vendor side, it again derives any type of delay that could range from months. But again, the goal is to ensure the accuracy of what we're paying and ensuring that, again, we're being billed for the services and the goods that are being captured on these invoices. The last thing I want to mention is was a delay in regards to an April Piccadilly payment. This is an example, and again, this doesn't happen often, where the invoice is issued at the time that we actually receive the goods. So again, the vendor doesn't produce an invoice, but again, the department retains it when we receive the actual, and in this case, it's a local restaurant here in downtown Modesto. This specific invoice was associated with a meal that was provided at one of our public point power agencies that was during lunch hour. And again, unfortunately, the invoice was not processed timely. And again, I want to emphasize between COVID shutoffs and again, businesses not having systems that again provide easily accountability when we are triggering delays in invoices. Again, they made us aware of this outstanding invoice. Again, we worked with the departments to ensure it was something that we did receive, and again, also confirmed that it wasn't paid. So again, we felt it was appropriate that we process it, pay it, and again, address this good that was provided by our local vendor. And with that said, I'm more than happy to answer any specific questions, as well as any questions that might come up during public comment. Thank you.
Does council have any questions of staff regarding this item? Seeing none, are there any members of the public? I see Emerson Drake.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the information. It's been requested for 2 months. I would have thought anyway. But I did have a couple questions. I guess I'd like to see the entire, the way it works displayed for us, because once again, Myers-Nave has 2 POs. Actually, it's the same, they're on the same check, but it's the same PO, 225-506. There's 2 different invoices, 186-654 and 187-076. One for $54,000 and change, the other for $53,000 and change. Now, $107,000 isn't much to you people to look through all those zeros, but to the citizens of Modesto, I think they're significant numbers. And since we're told, you know, we skipped over the part about the note, the council is supposed to be notified if they're more than 30 days late from Myers-Nave. You know, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see these notifications actually proven. Show me the notifications. You know, I've talked to several different council members. Nobody recalls being notified before. The city, when I asked the mayor during the meetings, all I got, quite honestly, was a blank look. So apparently she hadn't been notified before. And one of the reasons I get concerned is if we look at the consent calendar tonight, not one single item on the consent calendar was vetted by a council committee. I'm not trying to weasel you on the 2 first that are immaterial. The rest of them, not a single one, and nobody had a question to ask. And are we just rubber stamping? Are we not asking the questions? I'm curious why these 2 items for Myers-Nave, and again, why was this just before Christmas these came through? And here's a 54 and a 53,000. Would a public record request? I'd like to see the PO. I'd like to see the invoices that are involved. I think the public deserves that. I think especially since it's Myers-Nave, when you go through this stack of invoices that we're looking at here, anybody hasn't bothered, it's all there, all the checks. Almost everything's April, May, June. recent, current. And then there's Myers, Nave, that are supposed to be doing them within 30 days. I find the responses by the finance director, quite honestly, I question them. I find them somewhat dubious. I think we polished, we're not going into details. We're just, well, this is what happens, or it's supposed to happen. But did it happen? Is the city manager doing his job and notifying the council? If so, any of you remember it? I'm guessing it's got to be in writing, so surely there'll be a paper trail. Why didn't we answer this before? Can I have any of those answers tonight? Or do I need to wait again? Madam Mayor?
I will see if there's anyone on our staff that would like to address those or is prepared to address those this evening. If not, we would get back to you.
Okay, then if nothing else, I'll put through a public record request so I can get the invoices and I can see who signed off on them, and I can see who actually notified the council if the city manager did his job according to contract. I'm just trying, you set the rules. You make the laws, so to speak. Just when you found the loophole that you didn't have to notify the people about the cutoff time for the con on the ballot measure. The response I got on that one was, if you don't like it, change the law. Wow. Okay. I'll be waiting for your response. I'll put that in the paper or in the mail tomorrow for you. I'll email it. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. Any comments regarding the item 12?
In regards to the duplicate PO number and the invoice number, in regards to when the invoice is processed, you could have multiple invoices processed under the same requisition, which again would be transitioned to the purchase order. So again, you can see that throughout multiple vendors where again, we're being efficient and effective in regards to how the invoices are being processed. But that's why you see potentially the duplicate PO, because you have separate invoices that are being processed under that same purchase order.
All right, thank you for that. All right, this is item 12 on consent for a motion accepting an informational report for the June 2022 accounts payable, payment register, and void report. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Wright. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item? This is item 12.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. Carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Next is, do any of the council members have any comments and reports? All right, Councilmember Canoyer.
Oh, okay. I just want to, I don't know if this is the time to do it, but I just want the public to know that we get our agendas on Friday normally. We go over them on the weekend. We have agenda review on Mondays. If I have any questions, that's when I ask. And just because it isn't brought up during the consent time does not mean that we have not questioned some of these consent items, that they're clarified before, in order to hopefully save time when we're at council, and that we know, we understand what the consent items are. So I just want our constituents to know that even though we're accused of not paying attention, we do pay attention, and that's why we have agenda review on Monday. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to the family of Paul Chavez, I just want to express my deepest sympathies. I want to know that I hear you. Paul Chavez had a family that clearly loved him. Paul Chavez had children, and I can't even imagine what you guys are going through. And this council, we're committed to improving public safety, and we're committed to working with the community to do it. So change is hard, but we're going to face it. And I just want to say to the family of Paul Chavez that then I feel your loss.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Wright?
Thank you, Mayor. Today I had the privilege of touring the Barbarian Center for the Salvation Army with the Major, and I was really impressed. Years ago, I served on the advisory committee for the Salvation Army, but what we have today is much more efficient, nicer facility than we've had in years past. We have over 400 beds that are not full. We have plenty of room, extra room at the center. We have case workers there that are working with all the clients that come in. Nice facilities for clients to stay. They have the bathroom, the showers. They have a dental lab, a eye guy lab.
Optometry.
That's one of those words I have a hard time with. And also medical facility there. So it was really a nice day to take a tour through the center. I want our city residents to know that we're doing a lot for our homeless community. And the people that want a hand up are getting a hand up. A lot of them may have county services right there on the property. They're helping them get jobs. The street team is coming out of the Barbarian Center, and lives are being changed. So we're doing a lot in this community to help our homeless and people that really need a hand up. And my hat's off to the Salvation Army, to our city staff, our Jessica Hill, and also to our county that's stepped up to the plate and are making a difference for a lot of people here in Modesto.
Thank you. Councilmember Madrigal?
Yes, to the family of Paul Chavez, I just wanted to echo Councilmember Chris Ricky's sentiments and wanted to let them know that my thoughts and prayers are with you as we go through this process. Wanted to also bring up the issue of the Immunity Golf Course. I want to thank all the speakers that came in and brought this issue up. Clearly, we are seeing that there is just this housing crisis that we're in is just affecting more and more people every day, and people are just clamoring for some sort of action, some sort of forward-moving progress. They were specific in asking. Of course, I would like to see if staff can come back and give us a presentation or an update at the next council meeting. And so to that end, I'd like to make a motion that staff give a update presentation on the Muni Golf Course at the next council meeting, and I welcome a second.
All right. So this is comments and reports. We have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote on whether to go forward with that at the next council meeting. Yeah, with the clerk, please.
Councilmember Ricky. Councilmember Canoyer.
I want to think there's some way that, and I don't know the process of if you have a question.
Sure.
About,
why don't you go ahead and ask the question?
No, let me think of. Okay, so I want to know if this gives our staff enough time to put something like this. I mean, I know that we would all like to know more about what is going to be done there, but I'm wondering if this, you know, we have to think of the staff time and what's reasonable, and is this reasonable enough time for us to get a report, or is it better off getting a report when they have time to put an accurate one together before I vote on it?
Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
I mean, certainly if we had more time, we'd be able to put together a more comprehensive report back. So, I mean, the more time, the better, but we'll leave the decision up to council.
I too will make one comment that I know that we're in the middle of reviewing our housing plan, so I'll just state right now for that reason I will vote no on as far as having this on the next meeting, but that it would come in the future. But we currently have a motion from Councilmember Madrigal and a second from Councilmember Ricky, and
I was on Councilmember Canoyer calling the roll.
I was,
Where am I? Wait.
We're
Maybe the
voting
motion
on, we had a
originator might
motion and a
amend.
second to put it on the next council meeting agenda.
Okay, that's what I, she's
Councilmember
already-
Madrigal, were you going to continue, revise the wording, or?
I'm willing to modify the motion in order to provide staff more time. Would it be useful to staff if they can have it at the presentation made at the meeting after the next meeting? Because if I'm not mistaken, isn't the next meeting next week and then the one following that, would that be, I'm trying to get my dates right, would that be the one on the 4th Tuesday in August or the first week of September? That was the question.
I'm going to have to look at my calendar, and then I need to have clarification, since we already have a motion and a second, we started voting. I think we need to finish the vote for putting it on the next meeting, and then we will consider a different motion. So why don't we have the vote on whether to put this item on our next council meeting?
Okay. I'll call on Councilmember Ricky again. Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
No.
Vice Mayor Wright?
No.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
No.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen?
No, so that does not go forward 4-2. And the next meeting is on August 23rd,
So,
which is 2 weeks from tonight.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to make the same motion and direct staff to come back at the first meeting in September, if that provides sufficient time. Or does the city manager think we need more time than that? I'll be happy to modify.
I would really need to confer with staff before I made any kind of recommendation on when I think I can return back to the council for an update.
So if I don't make a motion, can I just give the city manager's commitment that he'll, in the city manager's report at the next available council meeting, that he'll include when he thinks the staff can make a presentation, or even possibly just tell us himself that he's putting it on the agenda?
So I've heard that there's several council members that would like to have an update, and so we'll work on a strategy to make sure that the council is updated and the community.
All righty, thank you.
I'm sorry, you cut out right in the good part. You said you heard several council members what?
That they would like to receive an update as well on the muni, what our plans are for muni golf course, as well as the housing plan. So we'll come up with a strategy to make sure the council and the community are informed of our next steps.
At a future council meeting, or just like on paper? And I just wanted to be specific. I feel like the reason I want to be specific is the public took the time to come to a council meeting to request an update. I feel it would be most appropriate to give them an update at a council meeting.
Right, and tonight they received, they had conversations outside of the chambers regarding the answers to their questions, but as has been explained, it will be on a future agenda when staff is prepared to give that to us.
Okay, well then I'll eagerly await to hear from the city manager, hopefully at the next council meeting, when he anticipates this being on a future council agenda. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we've heard very deep personal stories, painful stories and experiences of individuals here in Modesto. And although I'm deeply moved and take to heart everything that was expressed, I also have a sense that I firsthand know that Modesto is such a wonderful place to live. And I firsthand see people from the community coming up to me and telling me that. And I've recently been out, as all of us, all council members, are very diligent about being engaged with our community. And I've heard that from people about the resilience that is Modesto. I heard that loud and clear when I attended the Syrian event, where that entire community was personally faced the issue of genocide, which is spoken about earlier, and it's an atrocity. And that was a community that there was laughter and unity. And again, the resiliency that I saw in that community, I see quite often in Modesto. And it may not feel that way now, but I'm certain that we can get to that. And I also have heard from people of their sense of goodwill and strength between the community and the police in law enforcement. And I heard that loud and clear at National Night Out, where I went to several community events. And I saw community members shaking hands and high-fiving law enforcement and discussing family and just community. I had someone step up and say, I want to be part of the solution. I have issues in my neighborhood. I just so happened to know that there was an opportunity to form a neighborhood watch program there. So a community member stepped up and said, I want to be a neighborhood watch commander. So I put them in touch with the right person to make that happen. But again, I'm very hopeful, and I know very much that Modesto is a wonderful place. It begins with our city employees that really work hard to make Modesto a great place. And it translates into Forward Together, where Forward Together is just not a group that came together nilly-willy. It was very thoughtful. It was very considerate. It's representative of our entire community. Also, we can convene and have a hard conversation so at the end we can get down to a more agreeable conversation and understanding and respect. So I just want to say that, again, my experience is that we are no different than any other city, and we have challenges, but if we continue to work together and be respectful to each other and try to break down the walls of distrust, I know that we could be a stronger community. And I was glad that everyone came out and spoke during public comment. Some strong exchange, but we as a council heard, and we'll continue to do our best to make the best decisions for Modesto. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Madrigal, I see your hand raised.
I'll put it there.
Okay. I too want to express my sympathy to those in our community that have lost their loved ones. Even though it may sound trivial tonight to talk about National Night Out, but that's something that is certainly a profoundly important activity in our community that our police department organizes, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. And it really was heartwarming to go out into the community and see those interactions that were so positive. I do want to note to those that are listening online that we still, and have had the entire evening, 5 officers here that are present in person and with us have heard the comments that have been made. And I just want to say that we can do better and that we will do better, and that we will all work together to share we have a commitment. This council and our Modesto Police Department have committed to do the best that we can to improve our community, and we will do that. And I look forward to our efforts in the future. It is going to take some time to make sure that we do this correctly, and that I look forward to that. And I want the community to continue to stay engaged, because your input will make a difference. And that's it for my report. Moving on, does the city manager have any comments and reports?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just really briefly, I want to follow up on a comment from public comment as well as on Councilmember Canoyer's. I will just note that items 11, 13, 14, and 16 were heard by a council committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, and it's item 17. Consider approving a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Streets Team program in collaboration with the County of Stanislaus Community Services Agency and approving an annual contribution in an amount not to exceed $700,000 for a total amount of $2,100,000 throughout the 3-year term. Welcome Jessica Hill for this staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Jessica Hill, Community Development Manager. So I'm excited tonight to speak to you about the Downtown Streets team. The Downtown Streets team provides individuals experiencing homelessness, meaningful activities, and supports in the following areas: securing employment, engagement in mental health treatment, removing barriers to housing and employment, and assisting with vital documents. DST also supports us with our litter abatement efforts on public right-of-ways, such as parks, sidewalks, and city-owned property. And in December of 2018, a memorandum of understanding was entered between the City of Modesto, Stanislaus County, Stanislaus Community Foundation, United Way to bring the Downtown Streets team to Stanislaus County. Since that time, the Downtown Streets team has served 204 team members. 61 of those team members have been employed, 79 team members housed, and had environmental impact of removing 972,000 pounds of trash from our public right-of-ways. In addition, they've assisted with securing 454 vital documents, 24 resumes completed, 232 medical and health needs met, and overall have removed 1,810 barriers to housing and employment. So the initial 3-year MOU expired on December 11, 2021, and that initial MOU supported a 25-member team. We were able to increase that team to 50 team members in 2021 when we introduced our Camp to Home team. The proposed MOU before us today will support 2 25-member teams, as well as maintain the consistency and scope of work to meet the demand of our homeless community and expand the reach of the program throughout the community for 3 additional years. City staff's recommending an annual contribution of $700,000 for the 3-year period of time to support the team. The county is partnering with the city to contribute $200,000 annually and continues to look at other funding sources to support Downtown Streets team in the future. So above's a breakdown of what that $700,000 will consist of each year. The $600,000 is from American Rescue Plan Act, $50,000 from our CDBG funding, $50,000 from the Litter Abatement Fund, and then, like I said, $200,000 from the County of Stanislaus. Moving forward, the county is committed to continue to work with the city to generate new resources and to provide funding support for the Downtown Streets team. The goal for Modesto staff is to ensure that the Downtown Streets team is sustained beyond this MOU for continuous support to our homeless community. And moving forward, Downtown Streets team has committed to fundraise up to 40% of their total budget to support ongoing operations of the program beyond this 3-year term. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, does council have any questions of staff?
I do, Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Scooty Brayton.
Great report, Jessica. This program is fantastic, and I love the stats that came with your report in terms of the employment gains by individuals. I really appreciate the sustainability beyond the 3 years that we're hopeful will occur through the fundraising effort. I think that makes our work just continue into infinity, perhaps. My question is, in your report, you had referenced a multi-partner MOU that expired in 2021. Who were the partners? Are the partners the same than they were in the original MOU?
So the original partners actually included the Stanislaus Community Foundation and United Way, and they are not partners for this next 3-year term. So this next 3-year term is actually Stanislaus County and the City of Modesto.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Jessica, for your report. I want to look ahead for next year, and I'm hoping that we can look at the Downtown Street team and their organization to bring on more case managers to help. I know that the Barbarian Center do have manpower that could be used to expand the program, and if finances so be it for next year, I would like to see this program expanded. So I'm hoping that you and your staff will start looking at ways that we can really expand this. I've gotten emails this week from the people in my district on how they're seeing the street team out on Briggsmore picking up. I drove by there with a big stack of yellow bags. Hopefully the city staff will get out there and pick them up before they get broken open and you know, scattered again. But you can really tell a difference, and it's really helping our citizens to see that, you know, the City of Modesto is doing something to keep our city clean. So I'm hoping that we're looking forward for next year on how we can expand this program to really make our city a nicer city.
Thank you.
I guess that was a question. So you
Yes,
are
we will
looking at it.
continue to look at sources in partnership with Downtown Streets Team
Thank
for
you.
expansion.
All right, Councilmember Madrigal? Did you have your hand raised? Looks like it's raised. Are you there? We cannot understand you, Councilmember Madrigal.
Now?
Yeah, that's better.
My question is, what are some examples of the barriers to housing that were eliminated because of the work of the Downtown Streets Team, please?
Yeah, some of them include vital documents obtained, so that's being birth certificates, driver's license, social security cards. Other things includes medical and health needs met, so many of them received glasses or received dentures. And then others are connection to mental health services, just to ensure that they stabilize and are ready for that next step.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions from council? Comments from the public regarding item 17. Emerson Drake.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. Actually, just a couple questions. When I donate money to a nonprofit, one of the first things I try to find out is how much goes directly to the individuals and how much goes into overhead. And I've heard nice things about the Downtown Street Team, don't misunderstand me, but never any solid information regarding how much goes into overhead, how much goes into directly to the recipients. Not a word. And I think that's important. I think we're going to donate $2.1 million over the next 3 years. I think people deserve the right to know how much is going into overhead, how much is going directly to the individuals. I think that's a major concern. And I'm curious, I think it's extremely important that when we're donating this money that we, not just to them, but to anyone, that we have accountability, that we see where the money's going. It's nice to pass out those ARPA funds. Here's $500,000, here's $500,000. But I think the public deserves the right to know where that money went. Where did they spend it? What are they using it for? I think that's all extremely important. I think it makes the public more willing to donate more money. It makes them more willing to, quite honestly, approve a tax increase. But when we just hear, well, it's been a great deal, you can watch nonprofits, look at the late night television, everybody's got a great deal. All you have to do is donate money, we're saving the world. But nobody wants to give you the breakdown. The less they tell you about the breakdown, the more questions that come up, because usually it's questions that they don't want to answer. Now, I don't see any time at all that there's going to be accountability here. So I'm curious to see if the council really cares about that or whether we just want glowing reports. But to respond to what I heard just a minute ago, no offense, on the agenda, there was no mention that any of these meetings were vetted. Councilwoman Canoyer suggests that we've gone back to Monday agenda meetings. If these are happening, they're not agendized. So unless we have somebody playing beag, hopping from one person to another, it's not happening. And thirdly, I haven't seen an agenda for the meeting of the 11th. I think you're all going to show up if it's still on, but I thought you had to have an agenda if you're going to be there. Now, getting back to the original, we're donating to basically nonprofits. We donate money to them every year, whether it's Downtown Street Team or Domo. We never get any feedback as to where the money goes. Details, not the snow job we usually hear. I ask that you respond to those details. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Great, so I'd like to address some of those questions. So for all funding that's actually allocated to nonprofits over the HUD division, including the Downtown Streets team, there's a detailed line item budget that is included in the agreement. I will say the top two expenses that are going to the Downtown Streets team as part of this contract are for the salaries for the case managers to actually support our Downtown Streets team members, and the second largest expense is actually for the stipends that the members are receiving. In regards to accountability, the city meets with the Downtown Streets team monthly, and we talk about all of the barriers that they removed, how many have been employed, and how many have been housed. And so we closely track that to ensure that they're continuing to serve our homeless community. The last thing in regards to reimbursement is all funding that the Downtown Streets team does receive from this contract is on a reimbursement basis. And so the Downtown Streets team have to submit the proof of expenses that have already been paid in accordance to the line item budget that they've submitted. And so that's submitted to the city staff monthly, and the city reviews and then provides reimbursement following the confirmation of expenses.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the public? Welcome.
Madam Mayor, Council, and City staff, thanks for having us tonight. My name is Chris Richardson. Hi, Joe. I'm the Chief Program Officer for Downtown Streets team and had the distinct privilege to work with my colleague Greg Pensinger to bring Downtown Streets team to Modesto a few years ago. I wanted to thank the city in particular. I work in 15 other communities. I'm not saying this because I'm here right now. But Modesto has been an absolute pleasure to work in. The support we get in this community is unparalleled. I think a large part of that is the staff that you have here, which is truly incredible. Not all city staff that we work with truly cares about the impact happening on the ground. You have great people here with Jessica, Blanca, Patty, their team. Joe, you've got a really special team here, and we absolutely love working with them. The support we've received from the city, from the community, and the city staff especially, has allowed us to do some pretty incredible things since we've been here. We're on a roll, especially with housing, with our Camp to Home program right now. In the last few months, we've had 23 folks end their homelessness permanently. As you've heard from some of the folks talking about the golf course idea, this is a minor miracle every time we get someone in housing, even when we have a subsidy. Subsidy doesn't match what's actually happening out on the street. The folks have to really overcome a ton of barriers in order to be successful in housing. I think my colleagues over there, and I'm taking a bunch of credit for their work, but my colleagues over there have 17 more on the way in the next few months as well. Now is the time when we're on a roll to keep this support up, and we so appreciate all that support that we feel. We have a lot more work to do, though. And to address Emerson's comments earlier, our organizational overhead rate is 19%. That can be found online, our 990 as well. Because of some of the funding sources here in Modesto, we actually can't claim all that 19% overhead as well. Thank you all so much for your support, hopefully for your continued support and continued partnership. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. All right, any other members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 17? Seeing none, any comments from council members?
Motion to approve?
I'll just make one brief comment that I am grateful for the work that you do for our Downtown Streets team. I've maintained that the way that we are going to help is one by one. Each person that we see has a unique situation, and that's the way I believe it's going to happen. So I appreciate your work. All right, we have a motion from, Councilmember Ricky.
I just wanted to make a comment also. It's programs like this that help actually get people off the streets, get their lives back together, and, become part of our community again. And so this is the kind of thing that we need to build on. I'm very proud of our staff. I'm very proud of Downtown Streets team and the work they've done in this community. And this is what we need to do to get out of this mess that we found ourselves in. And I know there's other things we need to do. We need to improve our housing stock, and we're working on that too. But we got to take on this problem in all the different ways, all at the same time, which makes it pretty complicated. But anyway, I just appreciate what you guys are doing, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
Right, thank you. Councilmember Madrigal?
When it comes to the wraparound services that are often discussed, that are needed to address homelessness in Modesto and in communities everywhere, this type of program provides multifaceted services, experiences, solutions, provides a lot of those wraparound services that are part of the overall solution for every homeless situation, which is unique in its own right. It offers a lot of that basic job experience, as well as I'm trying to refer to the often mentioned comment that I've heard over the years from people, which is, well, why don't you hire the homeless people to clean up everything around here, And so I'm proud to be able to say to them and to folks today still that, this is literally what we're doing with this one-time funding and with the city funding. This is one of these smart investments that we're making. And so I thank you. And I was just curious as to where does Modesto's Downtown Streets team land in comparison to your statewide programs that you have in other cities. If I could hear from either staff or a representative, if at all possible.
Okay, sure. All right, we'll have a response.
So
are we the biggest, the second biggest, whatever?
Hi, Tony. We're in several large cities throughout Northern and Central California, including, the San Francisco, San Jose, and Modesto's right up there, number 4, I believe, in terms of budget and scale right now.
Great, thank you.
All right. So we have a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Streets Team program in collaboration with the County of Stanislaus Community Service Agency, and approving an annual contribution in an amount not to exceed $700,000 for a total amount of $2,100,000 throughout the 3-year term to assist the City of Modesto in addressing homelessness, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. We have a resolution amending the fiscal year 2022-23 multi-year fund budget to establish applicable revenue, expense, and transfer budgets for the Downtown Streets Team, bless you, memorandum of understanding to be funded with American Rescue Plan Act funds and Community Development Block Grant funds and litter abatement funds, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions of this resolution. And I have a motion by Vice Mayor Wright. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ricky. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. So it carries 6-0. Thank you very much for your report, Jessica. Next on the agenda is hearings. This is item 18, a hearing to consider a city-initiated rezone from low-density residential R1 zone and commercial industrial CM zone to planned development zone PD 615 for property located at 1601 and 1625 McHenry Avenue, and a rezone from commercial industrial CM zone to general commercial C2 zone for property located at 1707 McHenry Avenue. And welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Steve Mitchell, Planning Manager. So before you this evening is a rezoning being proposed by the city staff. This rezoning is regarding properties located on the west side of McHenry Avenue, south of Briggsmore Avenue. These properties are currently zoned commercial industrial, CM. It's kind of a legacy zone. It was there because there used to be a dairy located at that location many decades ago. The zoning has continued all these years. It has never been rezoned. Also, there's a parcel, and the two parcels here, there's 4 parcels actually involved totally in this rezoning. So just a little bit more information about those parcels. So the parcel there at the north is the 1707 McHenry Avenue, is the Village West Shopping Center that has the Rite Aid and some other retail uses in it. It was developed a couple of decades, about 15 years ago or so. South of there, you have what was the former Long's building, Long's Drug Store at 1625 McHenry Avenue. And there was also a parking lot to the rear of it. The parking lot's actually zoned R1, but it got a special permit to allow it to be used for parking for the Long's Drug. It has been vacant until fairly recently, and then U-Haul is looking to occupy that site. And then finally, there's a smaller retail building located right at the corner of McHenry Avenue and Granger Avenue. Used to be a bank, and is now kind of several retail office uses. So these are the properties that are the subject of this rezoning. So there's 2 separate rezonings that we're proposing here. For the Village West Shopping Center, the 1707 McHenry Avenue, we're proposing to rezone the property to C2, General Commercial. That is similar to the property on other commercial properties along McHenry Avenue. The Village Center, McHenry Village, right across the street is Zone C2. Most of the other retail uses in that area are Zone C2. So all of the uses that are currently there in the Village West Shopping Center will be permitted uses in the C2 zone, so it will not impact them in any way, shape, or form. It just means they don't have that legacy industrial zoning that would allow heavier industrial uses at that location. The second part of this rezoning is regarding the Long's, former Long's building, the parking lot behind it, and that corner former bank building, a retail store. These are being proposed to be rezoned to a new planned development zone, PD 615. Basically, that planned development zone would allow retail uses, but would not allow vehicle-related and heavier industrial uses, similar to the C2 zone. But it also will allow mixed uses, so it would also allow residential uses. This is consistent really with the general plan's vision for this site. The current general plan includes kind of a concept diagram for how some of our commercial corridors could be redeveloped in the future. And this was actually one of the sites studied in the general plan for potentially a mixed-use development in the future. So this planned development zone would help to implement that vision that the general plan had for this site. So here before you actually is that concept diagram that's in the general plan. The general plan itself designates the site as commercial currently, but it does have corridor policies that envision McHenry Avenue and some of the other major corridors eventually transitioning to more of a mixed-use type development. And so it provided, again, looked at several sites that potentially could be redeveloped, this being one of them. And so again, this rezoning would make the site consistent with the general plan's vision for this area. So as I mentioned, the CM zone is a legacy zone. It allows, unfortunately, some uses that really aren't compatible with surrounding uses. You've got residential uses to the west of this site. You've got retail commercials uses to the north and south. Industrial, the semi-industrial nature of the CM zone is really no longer appropriate for this area. Again, the PD would allow for these mixed uses consistent with the general plan's vision for the site. The C2 zoning for the McHenry, the Village West Shopping Center would make it consistent with the other zoning in the areas. So the existing buildings can continue to be used for general retail office uses, just as most of them are. It would not allow, again, for things like self-storage, truck rental, or other semi-industrial uses. And so we don't anticipate necessarily any redevelopment with this proposed rezoning at this time, but the rezoning would allow for that redevelopment in the future. So with that, the recommendation is to adopt the 2 ordinances, rezoning those 2 rezonings to C2 in that planned development zone, and plus a CEQA resolution there for your consideration. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none in person or online, I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this item? Seeing no one, online or in person, I will close the public hearing. Council comments. I have to do one remember when. We used to be Foster Farms on that corner, and there was a drive-through to buy milk and ice cream and all that good stuff, and I remember it. I'm not sure if Briggsmore was even there then, and Jenny could tell me that.
Briggsmore was there, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And
Okay.
I was more than a teenager. I remember taking my kids there. It was Foster Farm delivery side. It was a pretty big industry when they lost that. People were really quite concerned. But that goes, back, and I'm glad. My comment is that I'm glad to see that this is being considered by the council to be rezoned so that it works well with all the zoning in the area. Because there are certain things that should not go up in certain parts of the city because it doesn't correspond with like the village right across the street where there's all the retail. So I'm glad to see that this was finally brought before the city council, and I will be in favor of it.
All right, thank you. So staff recommendation number 1, this will require separate votes. A motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending section 17-3-9 of the zoning map to rezone from low-density residential zone R1 and commercial industrial zone CM to planned development zone PD 615 for property located at 1601 and 1625 McHenry Avenue. City initiated.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Escutia-Brayton and a second from Councilmember Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye, so that carries 6-0. The next item is a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning map to rezone property located at 1707 McHenry Avenue from commercial industrial zone to general commercial zone. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Escutia-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. Next is a resolution, that carries 6-0. Next is a resolution finding that the rezones from CM and R1 to PD 615 for property located at 1601 McHenry Avenue, 1625 McHenry Avenue, and the property to the rear of 1625 McHenry Avenue, and from CM to C2 for the property located at 1707 McHenry Avenue are within the scope of the Modesto Urban Area General Plan Master Environmental Impact Report.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Canoyer,
Second.
second by Councilmember Escutia-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Escutia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye, carries 6-0. Thank you very much for that report. Next is item 19, a hearing to consider awarding non-exclusive, non-consensual franchise towing services agreements to 12 applicants pursuant to the Modesto Municipal Code. We need a staff report. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of City Council and City Manager and City Attorney. My name is Chris Adams. I'm a lieutenant with the Modesto Police Department, and I also have with me tonight is Carmen Soria, who is our community service officer, but is also our tow franchise administrator. So here tonight to talk about the non-exclusive, non-consensual franchise towing agreement slide, please. So give you a little bit of background on this is the program goal for our towing franchise has been for the last 13 years and continues to be to providing a safe, responsible, and reliable towing system for the vehicles within the city of Modesto that are towed by the city. The police department has been managing this agreement for the last 13 years, and the current agreement was approved. It's a 5-year agreement that was approved in November of 2017 and is due to expire in September of this year. Currently, we have 10 towing companies that are participating in the agreement. Back in February of 22, we did a request for applications, which you see here, and it was posted and closed in March of 22. With that, we had 12 towing companies that submitted applications, and since that time, we've vetted those companies, doing extensive background investigations, on-site inspections of those to make sure they met all the requirements of the agreement before we move forward. Next slide, please. To give you a little background about what a non-consensual tow would look like, that's a vehicle can tow without the, towed without the consent of the registered owner of the driver. That's going to be pursuant to an arrest, investigation of a crime. That could be a vehicle that's used in a crime and is going to be evidence of that. Someone that's driving on a suspended license, they're known to be suspended and they continue to drive, or an unlicensed driver. Someone that has expired registration over 6 months, so they can't operate that vehicle on the roadway. And then there's other municipal codes and vehicle codes associated with that, no parking zones, tagged areas, things like that. So talking about the fees that are associated with a towing agreement, where the authority comes for that fees can be assessed to that particular tow, is this vehicle code 12110. But that vehicle code is very specific that we cannot exceed the amount necessary to reimburse the city for its actual services in connection with the towing program. So it's basically recovering our own cost to run the program with staff. In 2006, before the first franchise towing agreement came to the city of Modesto, CSU Stanislaus conducted a impound fees study to determine where we should be with our fees. And we've followed that formula in the 13 years that we've had the agreement, including in 2016, when this agreement that's currently in place, and then also those calculations are being used for this new agreement. For the 2022 fees, those same incremental increases that we've had over time, with a few exceptions in categories which I'll talk about in a moment. But on June 28th of this year, City Council heard from applicants in the towing agreement, specifically that actually spoke tonight in public comment. We took that feedback from them at the time based off of some of the fees that were within the agreement. We went back and made some modifications to the agreement to bring our fees up to what are more comparable to cities around us. And those 12 applicants that were within the agreement were all notified of those changes on July 21st, 2022, and I believe that's what you heard tonight in public comment. So real quickly, what goes into fee calculations for cost recovery, as I mentioned earlier, are overhead costs, infrastructure, operations, utilities, things of that nature, and then salary costs of what it costs from start to finish of towing a vehicle all the way to where when it's released to the citizen that had their vehicle towed. So you're talking about police officers in the field or CSOs that are doing the initial response, records, data entry, a hearing officer in specific instances where someone has their vehicle towed for suspended license, or it's a 30-day tow, they may request to have their vehicle released early, and the staff that it takes to overhear that, any traffic personnel for releases, and then supervisors to affirm those releases. So as proposed under the current services agreement, this is the release fees that the Modesto Police Department will charge for these specific items here. And that's where those studies come in to come up with these numbers and how they associate with the time included in each of those. So you'll see an illegal parker or an abandoned vehicle would pay a $120 release fee, someone with unlicensed or expired registration to $160, someone that's driving on a suspended license or they are arrested and their vehicle has to be towed as part of that arrest, and then a DUI driver or a seized vehicle. The DUI driver and seized vehicle you'll see are higher rates, DUI specifically because the amount of time that's invested to do that investigation and tow that vehicle brings up the cost of the time that is spent on that. A seized vehicle is specific to vehicles that are seized after being involved in a pursuit with the police or are seized after the fact when they've been identified as being involved in a pursuit with the police. So you see here specifically over the last 5 years of this agreement, the number you see on the far right, the $60 and $70, that's the fee that the tow companies pay back to the city of Modesto. And so this is giving you a breakdown over the last 5 years of how many non-consensual tows we have completed in those fiscal years. You will see that there has been a decline in the number of vehicles that we're towing and the revenue that comes in from that to offset our cost, and that's simply because we're towing less vehicles with less people out there working. Next slide, please. This here gives you an idea of where we fit with other agencies around us. This is the release fee that the towing companies will be charging to citizens with this agreement, and kind of where we fit, basically right in the middle of some of these other agencies around us. This doesn't include the storage fees, which I'll talk about in a moment, but that's our fee there that tow companies charge. So some additions and changes to the agreement that I just want to point out in this particular agreement. There was evidence vehicle tow fee. This is what the tow company would charge us if we towed a vehicle as part of an evidence case, if we have to take it as evidence. That's increased by $5. It was $120, now it'll be $125. Evidence heavy duty tow fee, so if we had to tow a semi-truck or something similar to that as part of evidence in a case, which are very few instances, but we would be charged by the tow companies $550. That is an increase from $430. Lockout fees, if there's a city vehicle that we are locked out of, that's citywide. There would be a $55 cost to us to have that unlocked by the tow company. And then more specifically to out-of-town evidence tow, so if we had an evidence vehicle in a city like San Francisco or Sacramento that took over an hour to get to the city to tow back to us, we would be charged that fee. Special equipment fees that are in this, specifically what we did is we matched the CHP rates for any special equipment for large heavy-duty items that have to be towed. And then the storage fees, which is what the changes we made from the original agreement back in February that was put out to where we are today that the companies were notified of on July 21st, is the storage fees that tow companies can charge went from 65 to 75 for outside and 70 to 80 for inside storage. And you can see those numbers falling behind. But basically what that means is we're coming in more comparable with other cities around us to what storage fees that the tow companies are charging. And the final changes, we wanted to make sure the tow companies are in line with the city holidays when vehicles can be released. And then the revenue used for motorhome dumps, basically the destruction of motorhomes, that comes out of the abandoned vehicle abatement fee. So the resolution and staff recommendation would be for awarding non-exclusive, non-consensual franchise towing services to the 12 companies who applied pursuant to the municipal code, as you see before you. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Does council have any questions of staff? All right, Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate the information. I noticed that the non-consensual tolls have decreased quite a bit since 2017. Is that due to the lack of traffic officers on the street? I would think that most of the sites here, categories, have to do with traffic officers.
To say they're specific to traffic officers in that unit would be hard to tell without going back to that data versus what a traffic officer tows versus community service officers, abandoned vehicle, those. I can tell you that this trend shows me, at least at first blush, that it's during a decline of staffing in general among all ranks that would be working in the field and towing vehicles. So I would think it would be associated with that, the amount of time that we could do some of these things that would have vehicles being towed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Any other questions from council members? Seeing none, thank you for that excellent report. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public? Seeing none in person or online, I will close the public hearing. And any comments from council members? Seeing none, sorry, Councilmember Ricky.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to applaud the police department for how hard you guys worked with all the contractors and all the towing people that were to get this deal done. And the feedback from the industry seems really positive, and that's really good. So just appreciate your hard work.
Yeah, it was great that the tow company representatives came in person tonight to express appreciation to our officers and staff for the time that they spent to explain that to them, and I really appreciate that too. All right, I have a resolution awarding non-exclusive, non-consensual franchise towing service agreements to 12 towing companies pursuant to Modesto Municipal Code Section 11-2 and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreements. Do I have a motion?
Motion to,
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Scudia Brayton, second from Vice Mayor Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Next on to item 20, hearing to consider the application and issuance of a permit to operate as a non-emergency medical transport company to McIntosh Transport LLC in the city of Modesto. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, everyone else that stayed. As you'll see, I am not Chief Gillespie. I'm Lieutenant Meredith. I'm currently the ISD Assistant Division Commander, and I'll be presenting this very short presentation. So the discussion tonight, at least for my half, is the non-emergency transport application for Macintosh Transport, LLC. Just some background on this. I don't know if anyone on the council has encountered one of these before. There's only 3 in the city of Modesto currently that are permitted to conduct non-emergency transport. So the non-emergency medical transport permit process is outlined in the municipal code under 3-9, sections 1 through 20. It outlines all the requirements for companies wishing to operate non-emergency medical transports within the city of Modesto. And so something like that would be like not an ambulance, but someone being transported to a medical appointment of that type. So interested parties must submit an application, required documentation, and a filing fee. The police department then conducts a thorough background investigation. It's actually specifically mentioned in the municipal code that the city manager assigns the chief of police or his designee to conduct the investigation. It's a limited background investigation, and then it requires the police department to make a recommendation based on their findings. So there, like I mentioned, there are currently 3 permitted ambulance companies approved to operate within the city limits. Next slide. Macintosh Transport, LLC, they completed and submitted their application. They provided the required documentation, and they paid the $1,000 filing fee. The Modesto Police Department, based on the data that they received, reviewed and approved the application. They concluded the background investigation and no issues were found during that investigation. The next slide are photos submitted by Macintosh Transport of their vehicles to be used. The CHP reviewed their vehicles to make sure that they complied with necessary state laws, and these are the examples of what those transportation vehicles will look like. Based on the investigation, the staff recommendation is to approve the application and the issuance of the non-emergency medical transport permit to Macintosh Transport LLC. Are there any questions?
All right, any questions from council members?
I do have a question.
All right, Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
Is it pretty typical of other municipalities for the non-emergency medical transport vehicles to be non-branded? The the photo you presented, it's pretty plain. There is a small sign, I can't read it, but what does it say?
It has, from my recollection reviewing the report, it has Macintosh Transport, and it has a phone number assigned to it. Those are the requisite things per the code. And it looks like it's a magnetic sticker on it.
Yeah.
And so just having reviewed this, the municipal code, it requires any additional vehicles they add to come to us for review, so that the 2 that they showed us and that we reviewed did comply with it. But anything they added later on would have to be up for review as well.
But do other municipalities that have like services vehicles, are they white? Or do they have larger branding? Do they carry lights? Do they stand out as, are they a more visible transport vehicle?
Yeah, to answer your question, I have not researched this. Just from my own personal experiences, I haven't seen any lighting or any unique branding in other municipalities. And just from my experience, this would fall within what is typical for non-emergency transports.
Okay.
All right, any other,
I have a quick question, Mayor.
all right.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for your report. So at one time, we had 12 non-medical companies in Modesto. Now we're 3, adding one more 4. Is there a reason why we have less now than we did years ago? Do you know?
I wouldn't have an answer on that. As staffing has diminished, this moved from a support division responsibility, and it was assigned to us in March. A lot of our staff, and this particular license took a while to come to us. And the reason is one, in 2 months, 2 employees that had done permitting had left the organization. And so for institutional knowledge and historical, I wouldn't be able to answer that. I could get back to you at a later time with that.
I was just curious, and Chief is coming up here. He might be able to answer that.
The expert on non-emergency medical transportation.
No, I appreciate it. I've done a few of these, so I just know that we did have 12 at one point. They have to actually renew their license every year, and several of them have actually expired licenses. So they may come back and renew their licenses, so that could add back up, but from council approved prior. But I know what's dwindled over the last year or so, or even a little bit more, is because they actually haven't renewed their licenses, so they fall off the contract for our non-emergency transport services.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to delay this, but we really had 12 companies?
Yeah, over the last, felt like I was coming every other month with these to council, but we had a lot of interest in these non-emergency transport companies.
Okay.
So I don't know if in the industry if the need has just gone away, but we had a lot, 12, probably about a year ago, and just a lot haven't renewed their licenses.
All right.
And to add to that, I don't believe we have any pending applications right now,
Okay.
so.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from council members? None. I'll open the public hearing. Seeing no one in person or online, I will close the public comments. Is there any other comments from council members? Just one brief one. This is really important. Thank you for your efforts. These are the vehicles that carry people being transferred from skilled nursing facilities to hospitals to doctor's appointments to all throughout town with many times very vulnerable people in our community. So it's really important work, and I appreciate your efforts. So we have a resolution accepting the application of McIntosh Transport LLC, issuing this entity a permit to operate as a non-emergency medical transport company in the city of Modesto. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Mayor Wright. I'll make the second. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Aye. Carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.